Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Villain. Many children bring blessings, the heroines are broken. Chapter 1. Shu Liang, why did you come to see me? In a simple yet luxurious office. A stunning woman frowned and looked angrily at the young man sitting in the office chair in front of her. Lu Ruolin, the eldest daughter of the Lu family, became the CEO of the Lu Group at a young age and was a well-known business talent. She has a delicate and beautiful oval face, eyebrows as curved as crescent moons, and thin lips as delicate as roses. Wearing a professional skirt, her curvy figure was perfectly displayed, and her toes could not be seen when she lowered her head. Her beautiful eyelashes trembled slightly, her eyes seemed to be bursting with fire, and her fair and flawless face was lightly pink, which showed that she was very angry. The young man opposite her was also not an ordinary person, but the eldest son of the Shu family, the largest family in the Magic City. Shu Liang, who had a handsome appearance and a gentle temperament, was looking at her with a playful expression. Before she could get angry, she waved her hand and said, "Don't be excited, I haven't seen you for 2 days. I came to see you. What bad thoughts can I have?" Lu Ruolin's face was full of suspicion. "I'm telling you, I'm not going to fall in love with you." She seemed to have thought of something, her eyes were firm. "Even if I, Lu Ruolin, die, it is impossible for me to jump from here." Shu Liang raised his eyebrows, a slight smile appearing on his face. "You talk to Brother Liang will be very happy." "But, Brother Liang doesn't like your tone very much." Hearing Shu Liang's sudden change of tone, Lu Ruolin showed an unexpected expression on her face. "It's still the original recipe, and it will definitely taste familiar." She stopped talking. Shu Liang rubbed his chin with a teasing expression. Why bother? It was dusk when Shu Liang walked out of the office. There is a deep red cloud in the sky, reflecting the mountains and rivers, intertwining into a magnificent picture. After leaving the Lu Group, Shu Liang got into a gorgeous Rolls-Royce under the respectful gesture of the bodyguard. Then the car started and drove smoothly on the street. Shu Liang held his head with one hand, looked at the busy traffic outside the window, and fell into deep thought. According to the timeline, the plot should be about to begin, right? In fact, it has been half a year since he traveled to this parallel world. When he learned that this was a novel world and his identity was a villain, he became numb. In the novel, Shu Liang is a dog-licking male supporting actor, a stepping stone for the protagonist, but in the end his family is ruined. Thinking of that ending, he panicked a lot. Fortunately, the golden finger that is a must-have for time travelers has arrived. Villain Family System. The rules of the system are very simple. As long as you bring people into the family and add family members, you can get rewards. Is this the rhythm that allows him to open up his harem? Of course, there are limits to having many children and being blessed. First of all, the good impression must reach a certain level, and secondly, the object must have a certain amount of luck. There is a lucky woman in the book, a lucky heroine. This is forcing him to completely become the opposite of the protagonist. Fortunately, there is still half a year before the plot begins, and he still has time to change his fate against the odds. So, Shu Liang started the hunting moment. School beauty, stewardess, police beauty, nurse, secretary, female CEO. Queen, royal sister, Lolita, mature. Sisters, multiples. Pure, charming, aloof, gentle, yandere. Now half a year has passed, Shu Liang's family members have reached more than a dozen, and many more are in the process of conquering. As the object of kneeling and licking in the novel, Lu Ruolin is also the fiancé of the protagonist. The eldest son of the largest family in the magical city is a licking dog according to the plot of the novel. Doesn't exist. Shu Liang directly used the energy of the Shu family to attack the Lu Group in business. The Lu family is just a small family, how can it compete with the Shu family? The results were as expected. Major groups put pressure and partners rebelled, and soon the Lu Group was besieged on all sides. No matter how talented Lu Ruolin was in business, he could not save the situation that was about to go bankrupt. Just when she was desperate, Shu Liang appeared and gave her a glimmer of hope. It's just that this heroine has a special personality. I can't get good feelings, and I haven't been able to get gold coins. Today he came to see the protagonist's fiancé to see if he could bring her into the family and get a reward. in order to hit the protagonist hard after the plot begins. Unexpectedly, Lu Ruolin would be as sharp-tongued as ever. Can Xu Liang endure it? Although the heroine was not conquered, it was not a big problem. With the addition of more than a dozen family members, Xu Liang also received a series of system rewards. The initial strength of transforming energy. Division of realms of strength. Ming Jin, Dark Jin, Hua Jin. Portable space. Storage items as you wish, currently only inanimate objects. Car skills, God level. Skill level. Beginner, intermediate, advanced, God level. Like a spring breeze, temperament buff. Increase the favorability of people around the host. A successful villain will never write the word bad on his face. Although he has done all kinds of bad things, he still looks elegant and easygoing. There are also marrow cleansing and meridian cutting, boxing and leg techniques, photographic memory, charm enhancement. It is no exaggeration to say that he is already invincible. Now he is not panicking at all, just waiting for the plot to start and give the protagonist a painful blow. There is an unfinished building in Qishan, the magical city. Because it has not been taken care of all year round, it is overgrown with weeds and a desolate scene. Although it is dilapidated now, it was very famous and glorious 6 years ago. Because this is the ruins of the Lin family, one of the 5 major families in the original Demon City. 6 years ago, the Lin family failed in the business struggle with the Xu family. Unable to bear the blow of bankruptcy, the head of the Lin family jumped from a 33-story building. The wife of the house was heartbroken and died in depression. There was only one single seedling left in the Lin family, and it has disappeared since then. At this point, the famous Lin family became history overnight. Dad, Mom, I'm back. I will definitely destroy the Xu family and avenge you. At this time, in front of the Lin family ruins, a young man was kneeling and kowtow. The young man's face was ordinary and unremarkable. After kowtowing a few times, he slowly stood up. The pair of deep eyes revealed showed his extraordinariness. He was Lin Hao, the only child of the Lin family back then. He is not dead. He disappeared without a trace, as if he had evaporated from the world. In fact, he followed an old man to practice in the mountains. He has 3 masters. The master doctor is still alive, and his medical skills are so superb that he can resurrect human flesh and bones. The second master is unparalleled in martial arts, proficient in all 18 martial arts, and can kill a cow with 1 punch. The third master is a reclusive master who is good at playing chess, calligraphy, painting, poetry, wine, and tea. Little fool, you have learned all the 3 of us have learned in our lives in 6 years. However, we old guys have nothing to teach you anymore, just do what you want to do. You brat, stop torturing the old man here. You are already invincible. Go down the mountain and harm your senior sisters. Quote. Thinking of what the masters said to him when he came down the mountain, Lin Hao's lips curved. That's right. After 5 years of hard practice, he has mastered what several masters have learned throughout their lives. Even better than his predecessor. Now that he has returned from his studies, he vows to take revenge and make the Xu family pay the price for the destruction of the Lin family. The next morning, a taxi came and stopped outside a villa. The villa adopts architectural features that combine Chinese and Western styles, making it look majestic and majestic. A plaque reads, Lu family. A figure got out of the taxi. It was Lin Hao. He did not go to find a few senior sisters immediately, but came to Lu's house. When the Lin family was at its peak, there were countless families who fawned over them, and the Lu family was one of them. In order to establish a relationship with the Lin family, the Lu family proposed a marriage, and the marriage partners were Lu Ruolin and Lin Hao. Because the 2 families were on good terms and had a marriage relationship, he had to pay a visit for both emotional and logical reasons. Standing in front of the villa and looking at the solemn plaque, Lin Hao felt a little nostalgic. When the 2 families got close, he visited Lu's house several times. Over the past few years, it became even more magnificent. It seems that the Lu family has developed well in the past few years. He couldn't help but think of that elegant and quiet girl, pure and beautiful. That's his fiancée. She was so beautiful 6 years ago, but I don't know how stunning she is now. When he thought of meeting his fiancée soon, even Lin Hao Gujing's mood wavered slightly at this moment. What are you doing? Is this where you should be? Get out of here. A cold shout came. Follow the sound and look. It turned out that Lin Hao stood at the door and attracted the attention of the security guard, who came to drive him away with a fierce look. Lin Hao looked calm. I'm here to see Lu Ruolin. Please inform me. The security guard was stunned, looked him up and down, and couldn't help but sneer. Lin Hao had just come out of the mountains, wearing a washed white shirt and jeans with a few holes in them. I can only say that he looks cleaner than a beggar. Just you. Are you looking for the eldest lady? Can you match the keys? How many? As if he heard a big joke, the security guard mocked him mercilessly. Who is their eldest lady? A famous business talent. Her suitors can be ranked from the magical capital to the imperial capital. The guy in front of me seemed to have just come out of the mountains, and he unexpectedly came across the Lu family. Lin Hao's face darkened. Although he doesn't care about these minor characters, it's not like cats or dogs can scream in front of him. Just when he was about to get angry, a slightly hesitant voice sounded next to him. Lin, young Master Lin. An old man in tang suit looked at Lin Hao in surprise. He is the housekeeper of the Lu family. When the two families were on good terms, he also met Lin Hao. 6 years later, Lin Hao has shed his childishness and appears much more mature and stable. The appearance doesn't change much. It was as unremarkable as ever, so he recognized it immediately. What just puzzled him was how did Madame know that Lin Hao would come to Lu's house recently? Mr. Lu. Lin Hao also recognized the housekeeper, his face returned to calm, and he replied with a smile. Come with me. The butler nodded and walked ahead to lead the way. All the way to the living room, the housekeeper asked Lin Hao to wait, and then went to inform his wife. This wait is 1 hour. Just when Lin Hao was getting impatient, Madame Lu Ruolin's mother finally arrived. Madame Lu sat on the sofa slowly with a cup of coffee in her hand and took another sip elegantly. Tell me, what are you doing in my Lu family? She glanced at Lin Hao lightly. Her tone was very cold, and the contempt in her eyes was even more undisguised. Lin Hao's heart gradually sank. He had a premonition from the attitude of asking him to wait here for an hour without pouring a bit of tea. Until this moment, he still couldn't accept it. How good was this Madame Lu back then? Every time he came to the Lu family, he was treated with good food and drink. What about now? That look seemed to be looking at a beggar on the street. Perhaps, the amiable Aunt Zhang in his impression had changed as early as when his Lin family was destroyed. Taking a deep breath, Lin Hao said in a deep voice. Aunt Zhang, I'm here to see Ruolin. Before he finished speaking, he was interrupted by Madame Lu. How much? Lin Hao was stunned. What does that mean? I said. How much money do you want to cancel your engagement with Ruolin? How much money do you want to cancel the engagement with Ruolin? Swish. Lin Hao's face changed immediately. He was about to open his mouth to scold. What kind of person does this take him for? He heard Madame Lu continue. 1 million, don't bother my daughter. Hee. Lin Hao laughed in anger. In your eyes, your daughter, the eldest daughter of the Lu family, is worth 1 million. Madame Lu frowned, then relaxed. 5 million. I'll give you 5 million, don't ask for more. There is no proof of the engagement back then. Giving you 5 million, my Lu family has done its best. Indeed, it was she who proposed the marriage between the two families at that time. The Lin family also agreed, and the two families reached a consensus in this way, and did not sign any so-called marriage certificate. However, in order to climb up the high branch of the Lin family, the Lu family had publicized it. Almost everyone in the upper class of the Magic City knew about it. According to the power of the Lin family at that time, even if there was no marriage certificate, the marriage between the two families was a foregone conclusion. But who could have thought that the Lin family offended the Shu family? It was wiped out overnight. The reason why the Lu family gave money to Lin Hao and cancelled the engagement was not because they felt they owed Lin Hao anything. It was just to shut up the gossips of the upper class. Enough. Seeing that Mrs. Lu was still talking, Lin Hao finally couldn't help interrupting. You want to get married. You want to cancel the engagement. I just don't agree. Cancel the engagement. Okay. Then let Lu Ruolin come and tell me in person. Goodbye. After saying that, Lin Hao turned around and left. Mrs. Lu was left with a sullen face. Looking at Lin Hao's back, she picked up her phone and dialed the number of Mr. Shu. Beep beep. The call was connected. Mrs. Liu's originally gloomy face instantly turned into a flattering smile. Mr. Shu, that Lin Hao really came to see me. It turned out that she knew that Lin Hao would come to the Liu family in recent days, and it was all told by Shu Liang. Lin Hao didn't know that an invisible net had been laid out against him. After leaving the Liu family, Lin Hao came to the Liu group. After asking along the way, he also learned some information about Liu Ruolin. Liu Group's executive president, a business talent, cold and beautiful, with countless suitors. He went to find Liu Ruolin and asked clearly whether it was she who proposed to cancel the engagement, or it was just her mother's idea. The guards of the Liu Group were stricter than those of the Liu family, and Lin Hao was stopped by the security guards outside the door as expected. If he wanted to see Liu Ruolin, he had to find another way. Fortunately, he was very skilled and climbed over the fence on the other side. After many twists and turns, he finally met Liu Ruolin in the president's office. "Who are you?" Looking at the sloppy young man in front of him, Liu Ruolin frowned slightly. "And what about Lin Hao?" At this time, the whole person was stunned, and a voice screamed in his heart. "Cancel the engagement. Impossible, I won't give up on this marriage. Ruolin can only marry me. I said, even Jesus can't stop him. Lin Hao has been in the mountains for 6 years. Where has he seen such a beauty? He has heard more than once how beautiful this President Liu is along the way. When he saw the real person, he couldn't help but lose his mind. An oval face is exquisite and beautiful, with slightly wrinkled brows. The temperament is cold and majestic, giving people the desire to conquer. Her hair is tied up high, and there is a young woman's charm between her eyebrows. Why do I have this feeling? Illusion. It must be an illusion." Lin Hao was so scared that he shook his head quickly. When he came to his senses, he saw Liu Ruolin frowning and ready to call the security guard, so he hurriedly said, "Ruolin, I am Lin Hao, don't you remember me?" Lin Hao. Liu Ruolin moved, and a long-lost memory began to revive in his mind. Now her whole mind is filled with Shu Liang's figure, and the memory of 6 years ago really seems long ago. Lin Hao was originally the young master of the Lin family. But 6 years ago, the Lin family was destroyed due to an accident, and Lin Hao also disappeared. Everyone guessed that he was dead. "You are not dead yet. I went to the mountain with my master that year, and now I am back." Lin Hao pulled the corner of his mouth to explain the reason. Liu Ruolin nodded, "So you came to me." Lin Hao. "So plain. Aren't you curious about what I did in the past 6 years? What are you doing now?" "I just went to the Liu family, and Aunt Zhang wants to cancel our engagement. I came to ask you what you think." After a pause, he said very pretentiously, "Don't worry, the engagement was made by my parents that year. If you don't agree, I won't force you." After that, he looked at Liu Ruolin nervously. Although she was already one of his concubines, he still looked forward to hearing the answer he wanted to hear. I thought that saying this would win her favor, but soon Lin Hao felt strange. I saw Liu Ruolin's face constantly changing, fear, resentment, shame and anger, all kinds of negative emotions intertwined. After a while, she took a few deep breaths and forced herself to calm down. "Then cancel the engagement." Huh, Lin Hao was dumbfounded. What the hell is going on? It can't be said to be inconsistent with what he expected, it can only be said to be completely opposite. He asked blankly, "Why?" "No reason." Liu Ruolin's face was very serious. After all, she had communicated with Shu Liang countless times, and the relationship was deep-rooted, so she still knew him. With Shu Liang's domineering, if he knew that he and Lin Hao had an engagement, he would probably kill to silence him. Canceling the engagement can also be regarded as reducing a killing sin. It's not that she likes Lin Hao and wants to protect him. In fact, the two of them have no relationship at all except for the engagement, and are limited to knowing each other. She just doesn't want to hurt innocent people. It must be said that she is responsible and broad-minded to be the heroine. Well, Lin Hao didn't intend to appreciate it. When he was about to question, Liu Ruolin's face changed. He quickly covered his mouth and went to the bathroom next door to vomit. Lin Hao's pupils suddenly contracted, his heartbeat slowed down, and an extremely absurd idea surged up. Lin Hao walked out of the office in a daze, with thoughts surging in his mind. Liu Ruolin's sudden vomiting just now reminded him of the young lady's charm on Liu Ruolin. At that time, he thought it was an illusion and didn't think much about it. Now combined. Is the vomiting a sign of pregnancy? This idea was thrown away as soon as it appeared in his mind. How could it be possible? That was his fiancée, one of the harems that Jesus couldn't stop. When he thought that Lou Ruolin didn't know which pig had pushed her and was pregnant, he was so heartbroken that he couldn't breathe. So Lin Hao left the office. He couldn't accept such a truth, and he didn't want to question Lou Ruolin why she wanted to break off the engagement. Wait, maybe I'm thinking too much. Lin Hao paused and began to comfort himself in his heart. That young lady's charm was my illusion, and the vomiting was just because of nausea. His medical skills were not worse than his master's, but he didn't have the ability to judge whether she was pregnant at a glance, and he couldn't be sure that Lou Ruolin was definitely pregnant. Another thing that puzzled him was the fear, shame and anger in Lou Ruolin's eyes. As the president of the Lou Group, he was a top figure even in the upper class. Who could make her show such emotions? Lin Hao regained his spirits, his eyes flickering. He wanted to find the truth. If Lou Ruolin was pregnant, there must be an ambiguous object, right? He wanted to find that person. If he didn't find the person, it meant that he was overthinking. In fact, it would be easier to find Lou Ruolin to take her pulse. But he didn't dare, for fear that if it was true, he would not be able to accept it. Stop, how did you get in? A loud shout sounded. I saw a chubby security guard blocking him. The security guard who stopped Lin Hao at the door not long ago was him. He saw this kid when he came from the doorman after his shift change, and thought he was seeing things wrong, so he wiped his eyes several times. You just came in like this. Lin Hao pretended to be innocent. He cursed his bad luck in his heart. He was going to have a hard time with the security guard today, right? Stop talking nonsense to me. Get out of here or I'll call the police. How could the security guard listen to his explanation? He threatened him and pulled him out the door. Don't, brother, I'll go by myself. Lin Hao rolled his eyes. I heard that President Liu is very beautiful, the most beautiful woman in the world. I just want to see if it's true. Hearing him praise Lou Ruolin, the security guard was a little lighter and said proudly. Of course, our president is a beauty that can topple a country, beautiful as a flower, and can make fish sink to the bottom of the water and geese fall to the ground. The security guard has actually seen a lot of people like Lin Hao. Lou Ruolin is too famous. There are many people who come to the company every day just to see her style. There are extraordinary bosses, elegant young men, glamorous white-collar workers, ordinary people. But they were all stopped outside the door by the security guards. But they didn't expect that this kid would find a loophole to get in. Oh, President Liu has so many suitors, I wonder if he is dating anyone. Lin Hao said so much to the security guard just for the last sentence to test him. If Lou Ruolin is close to anyone, then the security guards in the company must know it best. After dragging Lin Hao to the company gate, the security guard relaxed and started talking about girls. The president's suitors can be lined up from the Magic City to the Imperial City, but there is really no successful one, But what? Lin Hao's eyes lit up. He had a hunch that the next sentence was the truth he wanted to find. But in recent months, the president and Mr. Shu have been getting closer. Mr. Shu? Which Mr. Shu? Shish, keep your voice down. The security guard was startled by Lin Hao's loud voice and scolded him in a low voice. If you discuss the president's feelings in private, you will be fired if you are found out. Seeing that Lin Hao was a little excited, he looked around and saw that no one was paying attention to this side, so he said it. Of course it's the eldest son of the Shu family. Not only does he have a strong family background, he is also handsome and elegant. If we have to say who is worthy of our president, it must be Mr. Shu. Lin Hao couldn't listen to the security guard's words anymore. The words, Shu family, and Mr. Shu, kept appearing in his mind. He gritted his teeth. It's the Shu family again. The security guard didn't notice anything unusual about Lin Hao, and he was still boasting. A familiar Rolls-Royce appeared in the field of vision. The security guard was tense and hurried to open the door to let it pass. When the car came closer, he raised his hand to salute, nodded and bowed, and was extremely flattering. Lin Hao noticed this scene and looked at it with frowns. I don't know if it was a coincidence, but the young man in the back seat also happened to look at him. Suddenly, the two looked at each other. Watching the car go away, Lin Hao stood there with a frown. In the brief glance just now, he saw mockery in the young man's eyes. He was sure that the two had never met before, so why would she show such an expression to him? Who is that person? He is the Mr. Shu I just told you about. Swish. Lin Hao's eyes changed. His aura suddenly became fierce, like a beast that chooses its prey. This Mr. Shu has been close to Lu Ruolin recently, and it is very likely that he is the guy who is trying to steal his girlfriend. He just took a few steps and was about to catch up when he was stopped by the security guard. Brother, don't make it difficult for me, you should leave quickly. Seeing this, Lin Hao restrained his aura. It was broad daylight now, and it would be difficult for him to force his way in. If he really called the police, it would be bad. Helplessly, he could only wait anxiously for Mr. Shu to come out. The time comes to noon. The sun is hot and scorching the earth. Lin Hao was sweating profusely and guarding the door. The heat in his body was not as good as the anxiety in his heart. Why did Mr. Shu go in for so long and still not come out? What are he and Lu Ruolin doing? Will it be in the office, on the sofa, on the desk? If it weren't for a group of security guards staring at him eagerly, he would have rushed in long ago. Well-meaning security guards asked him to leave, but he refused to leave. Are you kidding me? His head started to glow green. How could he just leave like that? This moved a group of security guards. I can't help feeling that this is the charm of the president. He didn't hesitate to brave the scorching sun to take a look at the president. Just when Lin Hao's patience reached its limit, the familiar Rolls-Royce came out. There was one more person in the car, Lu Ruolin, President Lu. The security guards looked at their noses and hearts, pretending they saw nothing, and silently opened the door. Lin Hao was shocked, gritted his teeth, and chased after the car. The Rolls-Royce is not fast, and Lin Hao has been practicing martial arts all year round, so there is no pressure to follow him. The car didn't drive far and stopped in front of a 5-star hotel. The bodyguard who was driving got out of the car and opened the door for Shu Liang. Lu Ruolin got out of the car door on her own, and it seemed that the relationship between the two was normal. Under normal circumstances, didn't the man get out of the car and open the door for his female companion? The worst option is to ask the bodyguard to open the door for the female companion, right? Lin Hao, who was peeping, couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, and soon he felt a little strange again. Shu Liang got off the car and walked towards the hotel entrance, while Lu Ruolin quickly followed. Ah, is this relationship reversed? Why does it look like Lu Ruolin is kneeling and licking Shu Liang? Shaking his head, putting aside his distracting thoughts, he followed. He did not go up to confess, but chose to continue observing secretly. The two of them booked a seat in the lobby. The waiter took the order, and then the two of them chatted and ate together like ordinary partners. Lin Hao thought he was overthinking, but what he saw next made him explode on the spot. Shu Liang was full, and his eyes glanced over inadvertently, with a flash of interest in his eyes. Today he came over, first to take a look at the protagonist. The second is to see if the plot will develop according to the original plot with his intervention. The protagonist looked at it and found that it was indeed ordinary and in line with the low-key pretense. The plot has also changed. It does not follow the original plot. The protagonist just came down from the mountain, and Lu Ruolin asked him to work as a security guard in the company. The plot has changed, and he is fine, which confirms his idea, and he doesn't need to care about the direction of the plot. So, will anything happen if I kill the protagonist? Seeing that Shu Liang was full, Lu Ruolin stopped eating. She looked calm on the outside, but she was very worried inside and wanted to cry but had no tears. Shu Liang often came to see her in the past, but he would always come to see her every few days because she would be unable to bear it. Why is Shu Liang here these 2 days in a row? After eating and drinking, I don't know whether Shu Liang will take her home or continue to her office. She had mixed feelings in her heart, and a hand appeared in front of her, holding a tissue. The meaning is self-evident, let her wipe her mouth. Looking up, Shu Liang was looking at her gently, with a gentle and elegant temperament. Not only did Lu Ruolin not feel any warmth, on the contrary, she felt a bone-chilling coldness. Only she knows what kind of devil is hidden under this elegant and easy-going attitude. She didn't dare to look any further and quickly looked away. Just as he was about to grab the tissue in his hand, a voice like a spring breeze sounded in his ears. "Let me help you." After the words fell, Shu Liang came to her mouth with a tissue and wiped it gently. His movements were gentle as if he were treating his little girlfriend. Thank you, thank you." Lu Ruolin thanked her quickly, her voice flustered and incoherent. "With our relationship, why are you so polite?" Shu Liang was shocked before he finished speaking. Previously, the system was only prompted when the heroine was captured and brought into the family, but it suddenly bubbled up. Ding. Lin Hao is angry with you, villain value plus 666. Ding. Lin Hao has feelings of hatred for you, villain value plus 888. After learning about it, Shu Liang suddenly realized that it was a new function launched in the system. You can get villain points by attacking the protagonist. Villain values can be used in system draws. Originally, rewards could be obtained by bringing the heroine into the family, but now there is another source of rewards. Tisk. Shu Liang clicked his tongue. This meant that he and the protagonist would fight to the death. It doesn't matter, I just kidnapped the heroine and ended up fighting to death. But the plan is about to change. Originally, he planned to kill the protagonist as soon as he appeared and eliminate future troubles forever. Now it seems that it still has value. Instead of killing him, it would be better to drain him of his last value and let him emit the last bit of residual heat. Attack the protagonist to gain villain points, which can be used in draws to increase your strength. With all this going on and on, what else can the protagonist do to fight him? Searching for villain value is actually a disguised way of robbing the protagonist of his luck. Unfortunately, Lin Hao does not have much luck, and it will probably be drained out soon. It would be better if there were more protagonists. After plundering the luck of one protagonist, he would kill another one. Just like leeks, harvested one after another. Shu Liang had a vague guess. This world is not just the novel world of Invincible goes down the mountain to harm senior sister. Because the dozen or so heroines he took into his family are not characters in this novel world. This is also one of the reasons why he decided not to kill the protagonist for the time being and drain his last value. His strength is invincible in this novel world, but who knows what other protagonists there are. What is the return of the King of Soldiers, the Master of National Martial Arts, the retired god of killing, the son-in-law of the Dragon King? Shu Liang will not miss any opportunity to strengthen himself. Of course, if the protagonist has the possibility of threatening him in the slightest, he will kill him without hesitation. No matter how valuable she is, she still has to be killed. Seeing Shu Liang wiping Lu Ruolin's mouth, Lu Ruolin didn't refuse, as if she was used to it. Lin Hao was dumbfounded. The facts were in front of him, and he couldn't help but not believe it. Looking at the intimate posture of the two, Lu Ruolin didn't blush at all, and they must have been together for a long time. There is a 99.9% possibility that they have done more intimate things. Then, Lu Ruolin's morning sickness reaction is also real. Green on the head, green grassland can't describe it. Lin Hao couldn't accept it for a while. No. Suddenly, he reacted and looked closely. Soon he found the bright spot. Lu Ruolin not only didn't blush, but became paler than before, and a familiar fear flashed in his eyes. Swish! A flash of inspiration flashed through his mind. At this moment, Lin Hao understood everything. It turned out that the reason why Lu Ruolin was so obedient was because the young master of the Shu family forced him. What forced him? It's nothing but the power of the Shu family. Maybe he has some leverage over Lu Ruolin. Thinking of Shu Liang forcing her to do all kinds of things, and even the possibility that she was pregnant with his child, Lin Hao was furious. Ding! Lin Hao's mentality exploded, villain value plus 999. Ha! Shu Liang raised his eyebrows, with a look of surprise in his eyes. His mentality exploded just because he was a little intimate with the heroine. This protagonist mentality is not good. This is just the beginning. If he knew that Lu Ruolin had already become his own shape, wouldn't he die on the spot? After guessing the whole story, Lin Hao was so angry that his body was torn apart. He wanted to rush up and kill Shu Liang immediately. In the end, he still resisted the urge. He found several masters hiding in the corners, who were supposed to be protecting the eldest son of the Shu family. Several people were a little powerful, but in his opinion, they were just that, not worth mentioning. The reason for not taking action was that he didn't want to alert the enemy. His enemy was not only Shu Liang, but the entire Shu family. Once Shu Liang was killed, with the power of the Shu family, even if he was already very powerful, he would not be able to compete. Not only that, but also because he had a last glimmer of hope. Maybe, probably, maybe. Lu Ruolin was not actually pregnant. People are like this, if they don't see it with their own eyes, they won't believe the truth in front of them. After teasing Lu Ruolin, Shu Liang prepared to return to the company. Both parents moved their business to the imperial capital, and everything in the Magic City was handed over to him to take care of. The company has piled up a lot of documents. The purpose of this trip has been achieved, and the next step is to slowly prepare the protagonist. Before leaving, Shu Liang left a female bodyguard to watch secretly. Report to him if anything happens. Things like the heroine and the protagonist secretly falling in love with each other can't happen in front of him. Lu Ruolin was tense. She didn't breathe a sigh of relief until Shu Liang left. At this time, the waiter passed by with a plate of greasy braised pork trotters, which made her feel nauseous again. She covered her mouth and it took a while to calm down. She asked the waiter to pay the bill. Just as she picked up her bag and was about to go back to the company, a figure blocked her way. Lin Hao, what are you doing here? Lu Ruolin frowned. Looking at Lin Hao's clothes, he didn't look like someone who could afford a 5-star hotel. If nothing unexpected happened, he should be here to see her. Lin Hao's expression was extremely complicated, and he took a deep breath. I have learned a lot in the past few years, and my medical skills are pretty good. Seeing that you vomited twice, can I help you feel your pulse? After a pause, as if considering her concerns, he continued to speak. Don't worry, there is no need for physical contact. I can diagnose pulses with hanging threads. After he finished speaking, there were a few more thin threads in his hand. Lu Ruolin's face was ugly. No matter who was fine, if someone suddenly stood up and said that you were sick, you would not be in a good mood. Dangling thread to diagnose pulses, do you think it's a myth? It's a routine for picking up girls from many years ago. Noticed Lin Hao's extremely serious expression, Lu Ruolin was suspicious. After thinking for a moment, she agreed and took the end of the thread and wrapped it around her wrist. Lin Hao had no intention of picking up girls at this time, but was only worried about knowing the truth. After the thread was set up, he couldn't wait to start diagnosing pulses. Lu Ruolin looked indifferent, and wanted to see what tricks he would play. Lin Hao looked solemn, and his expression kept changing as time went by. Worry, expectation, fear, anger, collapse. How could this happen? Lu Ruolin was really pregnant. The truth came out, breaking his last fantasy. Lin Hao muttered to himself without a soul, and the whole person looked lost. Somehow, seeing Lin Hao like this, Lu Ruolin's heart stomped. A bad premonition enveloped her heart. She hurriedly asked, "What's wrong?" It's a happy pulse, congratulations. You're pregnant." At this time, Lin Hao's expression was so wonderful, he seemed to be crying but not crying, and seemed to be laughing but not laughing. At this moment, he even hated Lu Ruolin. Boom! Lu Ruolin's mind was roaring, and he was dazed in place, and his face suddenly turned pale. The bag worth millions in his hand fell to the ground with a click. After coming to her senses, she shook her head vigorously. "No, impossible, you're talking nonsense. If you don't believe me, go to the hospital for a checkup and you'll know." Lin Hao left a word and walked out the door, staggering and swaying. Could it be? Lu Ruolin clenched her teeth. She thought of many times when she was too tired and didn't have time to take protective measures. Combined with the abnormalities in recent days, she often nauseated, had no appetite when she saw greasy food, and even felt sick. And the most important point she ignored was that her relatives didn't come this month. Lu Ruolin couldn't stand any more, picked up her bag and rushed out. She was going to the hospital. First People's Hospital. After Lu Ruolin finished the examination, she walked back and forth in the corridor, anxiously waiting for the results. Not long after, a female doctor handed her the report and said with a smile, "Congratulations, you're going to be a mother, and your baby is very healthy." Lu Ruolin was in a trance for a moment. If she hadn't been holding the chair, she would have fallen to the ground. After a long while, she had to accept the reality. After cheering up again, she began to order silence. The fact that she was pregnant must not be spread. Lu Ruolin always acted decisively and quickly, but she could not hide it from the eyes of those who were interested. The female bodyguard hiding in the dark, who was both protecting and monitoring, quickly reported the matter to Shu Liang. At this time, a farce is being staged at the entrance of Shu Group. A young man is killing people in a group of security guards. Upon closer inspection, who else could it be but Lin Hao? It turned out that after Lin Hao walked out of the hotel, a breeze blew and made him shudder. Just now, he did resent Lu Ruolin, grieving her misfortune and being angry at her for not fighting. You are engaged, but you are pregnant with someone else's child. Now that he has calmed down, he also knows that it is not Lu Ruolin's fault. If he wants to blame someone, he should blame Shu Liang. Everything was forced by Shu Liang. The more he endures, the angrier he gets. The more he takes a step back, the more he loses. His fiancée is already pregnant. Can he still be considered a human being if he can endure it? Immediately, Lin Hao found Shu Liang's company and rushed to the door aggressively. But he said half an hour ago. Shu Liang came to his company. The Shu Group is located in the most prosperous commercial street in Shanghai, with several nearby buildings serving as offices. As soon as he entered the building, a beautiful figure greeted him. The eyes that looked at Shu Liang were filled with admiration and admiration. Shui Yorong, personal secretary, is also a member of Shu Liang's family. As the name suggests, he has outstanding advantages and explosive figure. She has long hair that reaches her waist, a flawless face with oval seeds, and a pair of bright black eyes flashing under her slender willow eyebrows, revealing the light of intelligence. Mr. Shu has a lot of things to do every day, and he is finally willing to come to the company today. Shui Yorong said with some resentment while leading the way. Since abducting her into the company, she has been asked to handle everything, and Shu Liang has directly become the hands-off shopkeeper. If some documents didn't require the president's signature, he probably wouldn't even come to the company. Of course, she was more moved that Shu Liang believed in her so much. Li Wanjin, didn't she go to the branch to inspect? How about you support me first? Shu Liang raised his eyebrows. He was pretty good to the heroines who came into his house. He doesn't mind occasionally joking or throwing tantrums that aren't considered petty, which adds to the fun. But if it makes him unhappy, it is inevitable to learn the family rules. Someone had entered the house before and discovered that there were so many beauties around Shu Liang. They broke up and said they were cheating on their relationship. In the end, he was still kept in check. I'm talking about Li Wanji, not Li Wanjin. Shui Yorong felt a little annoyed and gave Shu Liang a very charming look. My relative has just left, so Mr. Shu might as well find her. She misses you more than just eating and drinking. Talking and laughing all the way, when they arrived at the president's office, Shu Liang began to process the documents on his desk. It is said that it is processing documents, but in fact it is just signing. The contents of the document have all been read by Shui Yorong. He still believed in the heroine's abilities. He has a PhD in economics from Harvard University and has published many international papers. He is truly a top talent. Not surprisingly, she will be the right-hand assistant of a certain protagonist, helping him manage his industry, but unfortunately she was cut off in advance by Shu Liang. I remember that when I attacked her, she was coming back from abroad and preparing to find a job. Through a series of sweet words, coercion and inducement, and even coaxing and deception, he succeeded. Her efforts were not in vain. Not only did she get a business management genius, she also gained God-level driving skills from her. Shui Yorong did not interrupt, made Shu Liang a cup of tea, and slowly closed the door when he went out. Bang bang bang. Not long after, there was a knock on the door. Enter. After receiving Shu Liang's permission, Shui Yorong walked in slightly panicked and said, President, there's a fight outside. It turned out that someone wanted to enter the company to find Shu Liang, but he was stopped by the security guard without an appointment. The man immediately started to force his way in. The opponent was very strong. None of the dozens of Special Forces security guards could take a move from him. Calling all the way in now. Oh, Shu Liang continued to sign and responded without raising his head. He probably already knew who it was. Just now, a series of notification sounds sounded in my mind. Ding. Lin Hao is trembling with anger. Villain value plus 555. Ding. Lin Hao's mentality collapsed. Villain value plus 998. Ding. Lin Hao hates you to the core. Villain value plus 999. Shu Liang was a little confused. I thought I didn't do anything. Just like the heroine had a meal, it was like killing the protagonist's loved ones and friends. He still doesn't know that he did kill a person. Seeing that Shu Liang was not panicked at all, Shui Yorong also calmed down. Seeing Shu Liang's hands moving non-stop, documents flying in his hands one after another, he seemed to have a calm expression even if the mountain collapsed. That handsome side face was so mesmerizing in all seriousness, and she gradually became obsessed with it. After signing the last document, Shu Liang stretched. Let's go and see what's wrong with him. Go downstairs. As soon as he stepped out of the elevator, he saw Lin Hao knocking down the last security guard. Not long after, Lin Hao came from the door to the hall. These special forces are not the same enemy at all. Even the warrior who was hiding in the dark to protect Shu Liang showed up and looked at Lin Hao solemnly. He was somewhat measured and didn't really hurt these security guards. He just needed to rest for a while. In fact, if we weren't afraid of beating them to death and maiming them, the speed would be faster. As for those warriors, he didn't pay attention at all. In his eyes, he is no better than these security guards. At this time, many company employees gathered in the hall, all curiously eating melons. The president is here, someone shouted, and the crowd dispersed, forming a passage. Wow, I haven't seen the president for a long time, and I feel handsome again, okay. You idiot, how long has it been? It's only been a few days, okay. Don't you know that one day without seeing you is like 3 autumns? One of the nymphomaniac employees' eyes gleamed and she exclaimed again and again. There were also loyal protectors who stopped in front of Lin Hao. President, leave quickly, this guy's target is you, let's stop him. What, he wants to hurt the president? When a group of girls heard the news, they immediately stopped in front of Lin Hao. Wanting to buy Shu Liang time to escape. Our president is such a good person, and he provokes you. Do you want to hurt him? Did the president hide his sister or younger sister? That shouldn't be the case. You can tell by the look on his face. Even if it's an unspoken rule, it's their honor. It would be great if the president made unspoken rules. I would definitely recommend myself to the pillow seat and move it myself. Quote. The sounds of kneeling and licking reached his ears, and Lin Hao's face turned dark. He frowned and looked forward, only to see a playful expression on Shu Liang's face, Kai Guguo's sarcasm. The heart that had gradually calmed down because of venting was once again filled with anger. While he was away, he bullied his fiancée and even got pregnant with her child. Without killing Shu Liang, it would be difficult to eliminate the hatred in his heart. Crack! Lin Hao stomped his right foot on the ground, and the hard marble floor cracked like a spider web. He jumped up high and started to ricochet. He stepped on the shoulders of several people and passed the crowd. Then he rushed towards Shu Liang without slowing down, clenched his right fist, and smashed it hard on Shu Liang's face. Before he got close, there was a whistling wind. He used all his strength in this punch, using the dark power and making up his mind to kill. With one punch, not to mention a human, even a cow would be knocked away, and then the dark power would explode and die miserably. As for the consequences of killing Shu Liang, the consequences of killing, at worst, he would go abroad to develop directly. No matter how powerful the Shu family is, they can't do anything to him. Everything happened too fast, and everyone didn't react at all. They only saw Lin Hao suddenly pass by everyone and appear in front of Shu Liang the next moment. Seeing that a punch was about to hit Shu Liang's face, many female employees screamed in fear. Suddenly, the screams stopped. Lin Hao, who was originally aggressive, fell to the ground the next moment. What the hell, are you playing a scam here? Is the contrast so great? Someone was sharp-eyed and saw Shu Liang's attack, but it was too fast that caused such an effect. Time went back to 1 second ago. Lin Hao punched Shu Liang, the wind of the fist was whistling, and the murderous intent was overflowing. However, when the punch was about to fall, Shu Liang slowly raised his hand. Lin Hao was surprised. Was he trying to block it with his hand? He sneered in his heart. Even if he blocked his punch, Shu Liang's whole hand would be disabled. Soon he realized something was wrong. He felt that the air around him suddenly stagnated and it was difficult to breathe. His whole body seemed to be imprisoned, and his movements were extremely slow. Shu Liang was right in front of him, but he couldn't hit him. This is locked by a stream of energy. How is it possible? Lin Hao was shocked. Without time to think, Shu Liang's raised palm had already slowly fallen. It seemed slow, but in fact it was extremely fast and powerful. At the critical moment, Lin Hao raised his left hand to protect himself, and a palm landed firmly on his arm. A faint, crack, sound was heard. He knew that was because his arm was broken and he had lost consciousness. Not only that, a huge force came and smashed him hard to the ground. Transformation. Grandmaster. Lin Hao's pupils dilated, his teeth were broken, and his eyes were full of disbelief. He had seen the strength of the second master. This was the power that only the Grandmaster had. He was also a Grandmaster, but it seemed not as strong as the guy in front of him. Lin Hao was numb and doubted his life. When did the Grandmaster realm become so easy to reach? Didn't the second master say that those who reached the transformation realm were at least some old men in their 50s and 60s? He also said that he was invincible at this age when he reached the peak of dark energy. This, Shu Liang is about the same age as him, and is stronger than the second master. Lin Hao felt desperate. Facing such a strong man, he had no power to resist. Shu Liang has such strength, so what about the huge Shu family? What can he do to deal with the Shu family and avenge his parents? Ding! Lin Hao's mentality exploded. Villain value plus 999. Ding! Lin Hao felt desperate. Villain value plus 1000. Just when Lin Hao closed his eyes and waited for death, Shu Liang spoke at this time. Call the police. Call Tang Xin, let her handle it. Shui Yorong looked at him with admiration. Others didn't see it, but she stood behind him and saw it clearly. Lin Hao, who was coming aggressively, was slapped to the ground by Shu Liang. Oh, okay. After hearing Shu Liang's order, she came back to her senses and quickly picked up her mobile phone to make a call. At this time, several bodyguards rushed up and controlled the man. Lin Hao did not struggle. He looked at Shu Liang in disbelief. Why didn't he kill him? Was it because of the law? Life for a life? Absolutely not. With the power of the Shu family, it would be fine even if they killed him in front of so many people. The law is only used to restrain ordinary people. This sentence was fully reflected in front of a behemoth like the Shu family. After the bodyguards moved Lin Hao away, the scene under him was revealed. The marble was densely cracked. That's right, Shu Liang held back. If he wanted to kill Lin Hao, he would have died with that palm just now. It was just that at the critical moment, he transferred most of his strength to the marble under him. A slap confirmed Shu Liang's guess. At that moment, there was no protagonist halo triggered, and killing the protagonist would not trigger the backlash of heavenly punishment. In other words, he could kill the protagonist at any time. Before, he was a little worried that he would not be able to kill with the protagonist halo. Now that worry has vanished. In fact, in the face of absolute strength, even the protagonist cannot escape the fate of death. There is another reason for not killing the protagonist, that is to maintain his gentle image. Didn't you see that the female employees were all flirting with love at this moment? A good image will be very beneficial for him to bring the heroine into his home in the future. Of course, it is not realistic to let Lin Hao go just like that. How can he not be skinned if he dares to kill him? Tang Xin, the police beauty of the police station and the captain of the criminal police, was also taken into his pocket. She was originally a young police officer with an excessive sense of justice. She was led by Shu Liang to catch bad guys, and her good impression was built step by step. Only Shu Liang himself knows how many of them were arranged by him. Finally, he came to save the beauty again, and everything came naturally. Wait until Lin Hao is arrested and treated well. The bureau is full of his people. What can the protagonist use to fight him? Not long after, a police car whizzed in and stopped at the door of Shu Group. A female police officer got out of the car with short hair, giving people a heroic feeling. Her delicate and tender face is like a full moon, her big watery eyes are full of righteousness, and her figure is also convex and concave. An angel's face and a devil's figure, that's what this woman is like. Shu Liang was not far away. Tang Xin pretended not to see him, and waved her hand to let her men catch him. Until now, she often recalls the time when they caught bad guys together. When Shu Liang took action, none of the bad guys escaped. But after that night, Shu Liang rarely appeared. But, every time he appeared, he would play some game of good and evil with her, which made her very embarrassed. Look, it's been almost a week since he played games with her, and she was a little upset. Shu Liang raised his eyebrows and gave her a look, the meaning was self-evident. Tang Xin understood immediately, and her beautiful face gradually blushed. Seeing that Lin Hao was arrested, she hurriedly got into the car, and the police car whizzed away. The president is so kind. He just called the police to arrest him when they came to kill him. I would have beaten him to a pulp. I am so angry that he wants to hurt our president. He should be dragged out and shot for 10 minutes. Handsome, gentle, and kind. What a perfect man. Quote. Quote. The eyes of the female employees of the company sparkled, and they looked at Shu Liang as if they wanted to swallow him. And what about the president who was gentle, kind, and perfect in their eyes? Watching the police car go away, Shu Liang sent a message to Tang Xin. The general meaning was to ask her to treat Lin Hao well, use all the private punishments, and wait for him to wash bye-bye at night. Let's go. Go back and report to me about the recent situation of the company. Shu Liang glanced at Shui Yorong and prepared to go back to the office. Since he is here, the personal secretary is working diligently, so of course he should be rewarded. What? The relative just left. Haven't you heard that more friends mean more ways, and more girlfriends mean 3 more ways? Shui Yorong blushed instantly, pursed her lips, and felt a little nervous. Buzz. Just then, the phone vibrated. Shu Liang raised his eyebrows and clicked to check. It was a message from the female bodyguard he arranged to protect and monitor Lu Ruolin. It recorded Lu Ruolin's actions in detail. Lin Hao took her pulse, and then she ran to the hospital for examination and confirmed that she was pregnant. Lu Ruolin is pregnant. Shu Liang's heartbeat accelerated slightly. He couldn't help but be excited. For half a year, he had been partying every night, and more than a dozen heroines didn't make any movement. He began to doubt whether he had a physical problem, and even made an appointment for a physical examination a few days later. Now it's good, Lu Ruolin is pregnant, proving that it's not his problem. Shu Liang asked someone to prepare a car to go to Lu Group. Looking at the car in the distance, Shui Yorong breathed a sigh of relief, but couldn't help feeling a little disappointed. Lu Group, President's office. After Lu Ruolin came back from the hospital, she locked herself in. Even the female secretary who was reporting to her was stopped outside. Lu Ruolin was sitting on the sofa in a daze, one hand gently stroking her belly. How did I get pregnant suddenly? What if Shu Liang knew? Will he let me abort the child? Quote. Quote. As she thought about it, her pupils gradually regained their spirits and her eyes became firm. She decided that the child must be born. Even if Shu Liang threatened, the company would go bankrupt, and the Lu family would be destroyed. Bang bang bang. At this time, the door of the office was knocked again. Thinking that it was the female secretary who came to report, Lu Ruolin calmed down and went up to open the door. The first thing that came into view was a handsome face. Who else could it be if not Shu Liang? Where is her little secretary? Standing behind like a quail, she looked ashamed. The president asked her to stop everyone and not see anyone, but she really couldn't stop Shu Liang. Fortunately, Lu Ruolin didn't notice her. In fact, the moment she saw Shu Liang, her face turned pale instantly. Why did Shu Liang come again? Or after she had done the test and confirmed that she was pregnant? The result is imaginable, that is, Shu Liang knew about her pregnancy. Shu Liang smiled slightly. As if he was at home, he pulled the stiff Lu Ruolin into the office and closed the door. The secretary wanted to follow him in but almost bumped into the door. Sitting on the sofa, Shu Liang looked at her, his eyes lingering on her belly for a while. Looking at her face again, her face was slightly pale, Her eyes were full of worry, fear, and despair. Am I so scary? After thinking to himself, he spoke. Why didn't you tell me that you were pregnant? Swish. Lu Ruolin's body trembled, and he said fiercely. What do you want? I can't abort the child. Question mark. A big question mark. When did I say I didn't want a child? I'm so happy that I can't wait. Okay. The goal of the villain family system is to add family members. Of course, you can get rewards for having children. More children means more blessings. Enough. Seeing that she is still there and moving herself, she looks like she will give birth to the child even if she is killed. Shu Liang interrupted impatiently. When did I say I don't want children? Ah, Lu Ruolin's voice stopped abruptly, and her expression froze instantly. Indeed, Shu Liang never said that he didn't want children. She just thought so. But it shouldn't be. Didn't Shu Liang just treat her as a plaything? Still in a daze, Shu Liang came to her side and took her into his arms. Don't think too much, just give birth to the child, I will be responsible. You have to adjust your working hours in the future, and everything must be considered for our children, understand? His voice is very magnetic, making people can't help but believe his words. Lu Ruolin nodded blankly. Her body slowly relaxed and nestled in Shu Liang's arms. An inexplicable sense of security surged into her heart, and she seemed less afraid of Shu Liang. In the following period of time, Lu Ruolin handled company documents, and Shu Liang stayed here with her. This was the first child, and he attached great importance to it. In the evening, Shu Liang and Lu Ruolin returned to her home together. In order to facilitate work, Lu Ruolin also had a house near the company, and Shu Liang was very familiar with this place. Bedroom, living room, kitchen, balcony, garden, everywhere left his footprints. When the two got home, a candlelight dinner was ready. Most of the dishes on the table were good for women during pregnancy. This was naturally prepared by Shu Liang's nanny. In addition, Shu Liang also asked people to prepare various supplements, which were almost piled up into a mountain in the living room. Seeing Shu Liang do so much for her, or should I say for the baby in her belly, Lu Ruolin felt sweet in her heart. She could feel that he really wanted the baby in her belly to be born. Shu Liang accompanied her to eat a candlelight dinner. Where had Lu Ruolin seen such a gentle side of him? She was a little flattered. After dinner, they went to a nearby park for a walk, which was good for the children. Gradually, Lu Ruolin was no longer so afraid of Shu Liang. On the contrary, because of Shu Liang's care, his favorability was increasing little by little. Since he planned to accompany Lu Ruolin tonight, Tang Xin had to break the appointment. Shu Liang sent a message to her, asking her not to wait and to go to bed. At this time, Tang Xin was still waiting for Shu Liang to pick her up in the bureau, fantasizing about the good time tonight. Unexpectedly, she received a message that he couldn't come because of something, and her mood suddenly became bad. Captain Tang. At this time, a team member came to her to report. After Lin Hao was arrested, the interrogation was handed over to him. What was the interrogation? Of course, why did you kill Shu Liang? What? That Lin Hao would never let go. Tang Xin was stunned at first, then she became furious and strode towards the interrogation room. Seeing Tang Xin in such a state, the team members beside wiped the non-existent cold sweat from their foreheads. It seems that the captain is really angry. If the captain is angry, the consequences will be serious. After silently mourning for Lin Hao for 3 seconds, he hurriedly followed him, because he was really afraid that he would be beaten to death. In the interrogation room, Lin Hao was sitting on an iron chair, with his hands and feet cuffed, unable to move. A very high wattage lamp shone directly in his face. It seems like it can illuminate the darkness in the heart and make criminals confess their sins obediently. At this time, Lin Hao looked very embarrassed. The clothes on his upper body were damaged in many places, and the whip marks were shocking. If he hadn't been soaking in medicinal baths and beating his body in the mountains all year round, he would have left more than just whip marks. It should be, the skin is torn apart. Not only that, the flowing strands of hair were standing on end, and there was a faint smell of burning. This is a special interrogation chair specially designed for warriors. It is connected to a power source to facilitate electrotherapy at any time. With a clang, the door to the interrogation room was pushed open. Lin Hao raised his head weakly and saw that it was the pretty policewoman who arrested him during the day. She seemed to be a captain. Why do you want to kill Shu Liang? Let's do it from the ground up. As soon as Tang Xin came in, she was full of questions. Lin Hao was silent. What do you say? Could it be said that Shu Liang forced his fiancée to get pregnant? I can't stand the green grassland above my head, so I want to kill Shu Liang. He had been cheated on, and he had to say it himself. Did he not want to lose face? You won't tell me, right? Okay, I have the guts. To be honest, she had nowhere to vent her anger, and she was really afraid that Lin Hao would plead guilty immediately. She pressed a button next to her without hesitation, and it reached the highest gear. A new round of electrotherapy begins. Ding. Lin Hao is angry with you, villain value plus 666. Ding. Lin Hao has feelings of hatred for you, villain value plus 777. Bite. Lin Hao was being tortured in the dark interrogation room, while Shu Liang was sleeping with the beauty in his arms. The system prompt sound that suddenly came to his mind made him raise his eyebrows, and he already had a rough guess in his mind. Don't look at Tang Xin being shy in front of him, just like an obedient kitten. In fact, she is a female Tyrannosaurus, like a powder keg, ready to explode at a moment's notice. I think Lin Hao has suffered a lot. Many conscience immersion systems. The villain value has exceeded 10,000, meeting the requirements for the lottery. 10,000 villains are only worth one draw, so I don't know what I can draw. Deep blue, oh no. System, lottery. Ding. Congratulations to the host, you won the prize, new energy battery technology clue. Question mark question mark question mark question mark question mark question mark question mark. Why do you feel like the lottery is so unreliable? After spending 10,000 villain points, I only got a clue about new energy electronic technology. It is completely incomparable to the previous rewards. Well, this is a family system. The main business is to attract people into the family and have many children and blessings. Being able to win rewards through draws is already good. What is the most profitable industry in the world today? New energy vehicles are undoubtedly one of them. The battery is the guarantee of battery life for new energy vehicles, and it is also the most difficult technology to overcome today. It is no exaggeration to say that as long as there is a breakthrough in new energy battery technology, a new energy automobile company will rise at an extremely fast speed. The assets are at least hundreds of billions, possibly trillions. Getting a clue on such a technology seems good too. Shu Liang started to check. Soon, his eyes became weird. Because the clue points directly to one of his women, Li Wanjin. The clue is that Li Wanjin rejected a suitor's confession when she returned to her alma mater 2 days ago. Immediately, Shu Liang sent a message to the female bodyguard who secretly protected Li Wanjin, asking what happened that day. It is worth mentioning that, for these female protagonists who entered the house, Shu Liang did not keep them around as vases. They all have their own jobs. For those who are unemployed, Shu Liang will also arrange for them whatever they want to do. Shu Liang will also arrange female bodyguards around them to protect them secretly and try not to disturb their lives. Each of these women's appearance is at least 90 or above. It is inevitable that sometimes they will encounter some unscrupulous people, and these bodyguards can come in handy. Not only that, they also played a surveillance role. You know, they are all heroines. If one day a male protagonist suddenly appears and falls in love at first sight, Shu Liang will vomit blood. The presence of female bodyguards completely eliminates this possibility. Although entering the house means that these women's favor has reached a certain level and they will not betray easily. But even if there is a 1 in 10,000 chance, Shu Liang will never allow it to appear. Soon he received the message. Everything about Li Wanjin that day was recorded in detail. Because he ordered the female bodyguards to notify him only when these women were in danger, there were other men around, or there were some emergencies. It's like someone confessed his love and rejected it. There is no need to report this trivial matter. Shu Liang can be sure that the problem lies in this confession. My eyes scanned quickly and I quickly found the key information. That day, Li Wanjin returned to Shanghai University to receive her graduate diploma. At the entrance of the university, she met a classmate named Mu Bai who confessed his love to her. Mu Bai, Li Wanjin's classmate, has been pursuing Li Wanjin since he entered university. 4 years in university, 3 years in graduate school, and a total of 7 years of pursuit. Although he was always rejected, he never gave up. In the last 6 months of graduate school, Li Wanjin still rejected her, but not so strongly. This made Mu Bai see the dawn of success. Finally, on the day of receiving the diploma, he confessed his love. As a result, naturally, he was rejected by Li Wanjin. Tisk. After watching the confession process, Xu Liang sighed, and a stream of thoughts flooded into his mind. That was his memory of conquering Li Wanjin. A few months ago, Xu Liang noticed Li Wanjin, and happened to find out through investigation that Li Wanjin's mother was suddenly heartbroken and hospitalized. The examination found that it was early lung cancer. So, he bribed the doctor and modified the case. Directly change the early stage to the late stage, and inform Li Wanjin to raise money and need treatment as soon as possible. Li Wanjin's family is just a well-off family, how can they afford the cost of cancer treatment? She raised money everywhere, but no one was willing to lend her money. Just when she was about to collapse in despair, Xu Liang appeared in front of her like a ray of light. Not only did he arrange for her mother to be transferred to a better hospital, but she was also admitted to a high-end ward. Li Wanjin was so moved. Mr. Xu, thank you, this money is considered as a loan from me, I will definitely pay you back. Okay, but it's not easy to pay it back, why don't you come and work for me? Xu Liang smiled at her, like a spring breeze. In this way, Xu Liang brought her into the company. The next step is easy. After Xu Liang's constant concern, Li Wanjin slowly fell. To be honest, Li Wanjin was also very motivated, and she took the position of marketing manager in a few months. It should be said that she is worthy of being the heroine, all of them are talented, and it sounds nice to call her. The problem lies with this person called Mu Bai. Mu Bai, this name, you can tell that she is the protagonist. It seems that his guess is correct. This is a fusion of the world of urban novels, there are so many heroines, and there are definitely many protagonists. It's getting more and more interesting. Xu Liang sent a message out, asking someone to investigate Mu Bai, and fell asleep with Lu Ruolin in his arms. Chapter 11. The next day, Xu Liang opened his eyes leisurely, and a beautiful face came into view. A pair of beautiful eyes were looking at him unblinkingly. Realizing that he was awake, Lu Ruolin turned away in panic and explained. You pressed my hair. Only then did Xu Liang realize his sleeping position. At some point, his head moved to Lu Ruolin's side, suppressing her hair. One leg was draped over her body very domineeringly. This must be an accident, definitely not a habit. Considering that she was pregnant, Xu Liang had no intention of teasing her and letting her go. Lu Ruolin saw the problem. After hesitating for a moment, he slowly lowered his head. Xu Liang fell into deep thought. Immersed in the system, I found that Lu Ruolin's originally unchanged favorable opinion actually increased. Oh, Xu Liang smiled. It seems that the impression left on her was too deep before, and now a small favor has bought her over. In order to verify this conjecture, he had breakfast with Lu Ruolin. When I left, I found that my feelings for him had improved a bit. He was in a good mood, and according to this momentum, it was not far away to get a reward from Lu Ruolin. Just as Xu Liang thought. Under his gentleness and companionship, the disgust and fear in Lu Ruolin's heart began to slowly dissipate. The good impression is also improving little by little. After leaving Lu Ruolin's residence, a Rolls-Royce was waiting at the door, and Xu Liang got in the car. The driver, who also served as a bodyguard, handed a document to him. Take it over, the above is detailed information about Mu Bai. Mu Bai, male, 25 years old, the legitimate son of the Mu family. Xu Liang raised his eyebrows. Unexpectedly, Mu Bai turned out to be from the Mu family. Although the Mu family is far inferior to the 4 major families, it is still somewhat famous and has a fortune of tens of billions. Then look down. When he was 18 years old, Mu Bai's father, Mu Feng, planned to arrange a marriage for him, but he unexpectedly encountered strong opposition from Mu Bai. Mu Feng hated the iron and said, "In this marriage, you must marry or not, otherwise you will never inherit the family business and get out of the Mu family." Mu Bai is also stubborn. He just left when he said it. He never went back to the Mu family 7 years ago, and he never took a penny from the Mu family. He went to college, took the postgraduate entrance examination, and earned his living expenses and tuition fees himself. He is also doing a research project with his brother, which is currently underway, to overcome the battery technology that restricts the development of new energy vehicles. After reading this information, Shu Liang had a playful expression. Born into a wealthy family, unwilling to marry and leave the family, pursuing the love of his heart, developing new technologies to reach the top of his life, a perfect template for the protagonist. His eyes fell on a few words: conquer new energy battery technology. Found the target. I just don't know how the research and development is progressing. Make an appointment with this guy named Peng Ming. Peng Ming is the good brother who worked on the research and development project with Mubai. If he wants to plan this technology, he must first understand their research progress. When it is finished, it is time for him to pick the fruits. It's a bit risky to directly threaten the protagonist. The protagonist is a creature who is typically not afraid of death. Apart from their loved ones, they have no weaknesses. Using his father as a threat may seem like a good idea, but the technology in his hands will become his negotiating capital. Their lives were a trivial matter. Shu Liang cannot tolerate any shortcomings in this technology. Yes, in his opinion, although this technology has not been developed yet, it is already his. How do you say something? In Shanghai, whatever the Shu family likes must belong to the Shu family sooner or later. If a steel coin falls from the sky, it must be named Shu. Peng Ming is the protagonist's good brother. The two have studied together for several years, which shows that they have great trust and are a good chess piece. Yes. After hearing Shu Liang's instructions, the driver quickly sent a message for people to handle. Cafes. In a box. Shu Liang sat by the window, looking out the window, holding a spoon in his hand, unconsciously stirring in the coffee cup. Not long after, a slightly fat young man stumbled in. A man in a suit behind him slowly closed the door. He is Peng Ming, who Shu Liang asked to ask out. Rather than making an appointment, it's better to say that he was brought here by force. You can tell by looking at his bruised nose and face. Peng Ming looked behind him. The strong man in a suit stood at the door like an iron tower. I couldn't help but think of what he said to myself. Our young master wants to see you. Peng Ming was very unhappy after hearing this. If he wants to see me, I have to go. Let him come to me on his own. And then he received a beating from society. Looking back to the front, an extremely handsome young man sat in front of the window, with bodyguards in suits standing on each side behind him. Peng Ming knew that this was the young master who wanted to see him. He was a little scared and walked over cautiously. Peng Ming, right, don't be nervous, sit down. Shu Liang smiled slightly and gestured with his hand. His smile seemed to have magic power, making people feel like spring breeze, relieving Peng Ming's nervousness. After sitting down, he plucked up the courage to ask. Why did you ask me to come? Shu Liang drank a cup of coffee slowly. I want to ask you something, and by the way, ask you for a favor. What is it? Peng Ming was a little confused. They didn't know each other, and they didn't have much interaction before. What did such a big shot have to ask him? I want to ask. How is your new energy battery research and development going? Swish. Peng Ming stood up suddenly like a cat whose tail was stepped on, and looked at Shu Liang in disbelief. This new energy battery technology has always been secretly researched by him and Mu Bai, and has never been told to others. How did the person in front of him know? He also asked his doubts immediately. How did you know we were developing new batteries? Then don't worry about it, just answer my questions. As Shu Liang finished speaking, the two bodyguards behind him stepped forward. A strong sense of oppression enveloped Peng Ming. He had no doubt that if he didn't say it, the two bodyguards would let him know what a fist as big as a sandbag was. Finally, he answered, it has entered the final stage. Oh, Shu Liang raised his eyebrows. The final stage. In other words, it's not finished yet. The progress is a bit slow. Do you want to create some pressure to make him finish it quickly? The whole private room was quiet for a while. All you could hear was the sound of the spoon hitting the wall of the cup when Shu Liang stirred the coffee. Peng Ming felt a little suffocated, and he dared not breathe. A thin layer of sweat had begun to appear on his forehead and back. I've asked the question, so please do me another favor. Shu Liang still had a smile on his face. Somehow, seeing Shu Liang's gentle smile again, he felt creepy and had goosebumps all over his body. You said. Peng Ming was a little nervous, and even used honorifics. I want complete new energy battery technology. When he heard Shu Liang's purpose, he was not so surprised. He had already guessed it just now. If he didn't want this technology, why would he find a small person like him? Unfortunately, his calculations were wrong, Peng Ming said. You found the wrong person. Not to mention that the new battery has not been successfully developed, and it has always been Brother Bai who is in charge. I am only responsible for helping. No. I'm looking for you. Shu Liang shook his head. After a pause, he continued. Who said I'm looking for you for technology? It's obvious that this technology must be in the hands of the protagonist. A supporting role like Peng Ming can't get access to the core technology at all. So what do you mean? I want you to help me get the complete technology from Mu Bai when he completes the technology. Shu Liang said it lightly, but it scared Peng Ming so much that he pointed at him and couldn't speak. You want me to betray Brother Bai? Then he said, no. Impossible, Brother Bai is my brother, my beloved relative, I will never betray him even if I die. Shu Liang sneered at Peng Ming's words. The so-called not betraying is just that there are not enough bargaining chips, or the threat is not in place. Give him bargaining chips. He might not appreciate it, and Shu Liang is too lazy to give it. Treat different people in different ways. For people like Peng Ming, you have to be simple and rough. Shu Liang glanced at the bodyguard beside him, and the bodyguard took out a document with understanding. Peng Ming, male, 25 years old, lives in the south of the city Sunshine community. Father is a contractor at a construction site, mother works in a restaurant, and has a younger sister in junior high school. The above is information about Peng Ming. Home address, how many people in the family, what jobs they have, everything has been investigated clearly. As the bodyguard read it out, Peng Ming's face gradually turned pale, without blood. When he looked at Shu Liang, he seemed to be looking at the devil. What are you going to do by investigating my family? It all depends on your performance. Don't let me down. If I don't get what I want, I will be angry. Once I get angry, the consequences will be serious. After finishing his coffee in one gulp, Shu Liang stood up and walked towards the door. When he passed by Peng Ming, he paused and patted him on the shoulder. Don't doubt whether I have the ability. Believe that the consequences are not what you want to see. Although he didn't say it clearly, he understood it very well. If he didn't do what the other party said, his family might be in danger. Facing a person who always goes out with several bodyguards, making a few disappear is not much more difficult than killing a few ants. Shu Liang left, and Peng Ming was stunned for a long time without coming back to his senses. Finally, he sat on the ground as if he was exhausted, his pupils were dilated, and he was lost. Shu Liang came to Shu Group. He was going to find Li Wanjin to find out the details. Li Wanjin went to the branch company for inspection yesterday and came back today. After thinking about it, Shu Liang decided to force Mu Bai to speed up his research and development. On the way, he had thought of an interesting script. After getting off the car, Shu Liang gave his instructions to his subordinates, and he went upstairs to be greeted by two beauties. The script is actually very simple. How to force the protagonist. Of course, a villain appears at this time to make trouble. And he is the most suitable, and he is playing his true colors. First, tell the protagonist that the heroine's mother is seriously ill and he will solve the problem himself, so that he knows the reason why the heroine refuses to confess and gives him some hope. Will he think that it is not that the heroine does not like him, but that someone else took advantage of him, and naturally think that the villain is not a good person? As for the protagonist, he is a double-standard dog. What he does is excusable, and what others do is unacceptable. When the protagonist comes to find the heroine, he will find that the heroine has become a villain. After knowing the identity of the villain, he could only be furious and helpless. In this case, will he have the idea of developing a new battery as soon as possible and trampling the villain under his feet? Of course, this is just one of the scripts Shu Liang envisioned, and there is a sequel. The protagonist was born in a big family. If he faces the coercion of the villain, he can't bear it anymore and returns to the family to return home to inherit the family property. Shu Liang also has a countermeasure, then it's time to show his power and directly destroy the Mu family. At that time, the protagonist will be desperate, and developing a new battery will be his only way out. I believe he will fight for it. When he successfully develops it, it will be time for the villain to reap it. Shu Liang can not only quickly obtain new energy battery technology, but also plunder a wave of villain value, killing two birds with one stone. Mu Bai doesn't know yet that his fate has been arranged, just like a puppet. You guys chat, don't call me if you have something to do. Arrived at the door of the president's office. Secretary Shui Yorong blushed a little, said something in a panic, and hurried back to her office. Li Wanjin wanted to report on her work, so she had to get away quickly. There was no way, Shu Liang was too invincible, she was afraid of being dragged into the battlefield. Leaving Li Wanjin's resentful eyes on the spot. This sister did it, it was too disloyal. Soon after following Shu Liang, she knew there were other women. She was not dissatisfied, but relieved. Just because Shu Liang was too strong, she felt like she was going to die every time, and more people could help her share the pressure. Seeing the little secretary run away in disgrace, Shu Liang smiled. You can run away on the first day, but you can't run away on the 15th. Now I have something to ask Li Wanjin, so I'll let her go first. Tell me about your inspection. The door closed, and Li Wanjin began to report on her work. After a while, Shu Liang suddenly said, I heard that when you returned to school 2 days ago, someone confessed to you and pursued you for 7 years. Huh, Li Wanjin was confused, then her heart tightened, and she hurriedly explained. Brother Liang, don't get me wrong. I rejected him when he confessed to me. He pursued me for 7 years, but I never agreed. Relax, don't get excited. Of course I believe you, but you didn't tell me, which makes me a little unhappy. Li Wanjin was stunned. She quickly realized that Shu Liang was not angry, but wanted to negotiate with her. I'm sorry, Brother Liang, what do you want to do to forgive me? Call me Dad. Modu University. A slightly thin figure walked out of the laboratory. His hair was messy, he had 2 dark circles under his eyes, and he looked very haggard. He was Mu Bai. The failure of his confession 2 days ago was a big blow to him. He was a little confused now, because Li Wanjin had begun to reject his pursuit less strongly a few months ago. For this, he was happy for a long time and worked hard to develop new battery technology to give Li Wanjin a surprise. Unexpectedly, the confession still failed. Failure was fine, this time Li Wanjin's rejection was more straightforward than before. He was puzzled. Walking on the road, the conversation of several people next to him attracted his attention, and he couldn't help but prick up his ears. Have you heard that Mu Bai failed to confess his love? Tisk tisk. He pursued her for 7 years, but he didn't even touch her hand. How pathetic. What's so pathetic? It's expected. He didn't even look in the mirror to see what he looks like. How could he pursue the school beauty Li? By the way, I heard that the school beauty Li is now working at Shu Group and has become the marketing manager. I know this too. I also know the inside information. A few months ago, the school beauty Li's mother was seriously ill. It was still Master Shu who paid for her treatment and helped her stay in a big hospital. In order to pay off her debts, she joined Master Shu's company. Ah, I didn't expect that the school beauty Li had such a story. I heard that Master Shu was also a handsome man. It was really a perfect match. Quote. Several students passed by, and their voices gradually became smaller as they went away. Mu Bai was stunned and couldn't come back to his senses for a long time. A flash of inspiration exploded in his mind. So that's it. He finally knew the reason why Li Wanjin's attitude towards him changed. Li Wanjin's mother was ill, and because her family could not afford the medical expenses, the man named Xu Daxiao suddenly appeared and helped her. He suddenly appeared when she was most helpless. You can imagine how grateful Li Wanjin was, and maybe she even had some feelings for him. This is taking advantage of someone's misfortune. Mu Bai was so angry. In his opinion, Xu Daxiao must have been attracted by her beauty, and Li Wanjin must have been deceived by him. Thinking of the goddess he had pursued for 7 years, being played around and posing in various postures. He was so angry that he trembled all over. No, I'm going to stop this. Mu Bai quickly left the school. He was going to save the goddess. When he took a taxi to Shu's group, he was empty-handed. Both Shu Liang and Li Wanjin had gone out. When he asked where they went, they ignored him. There was no way, he could only wait. But he didn't see anyone until the evening. Seeing the time passing by, knowing that he couldn't wait any longer, he could only go back and come early tomorrow. On his way back, when he passed a restaurant, a familiar figure came into his sight. Mu Bai was refreshed and looked carefully. As expected, he saw Li Wanjin. But at this time, she was holding the hand of a handsome young man, with a happy smile on her face. He felt a pang of pain in his heart. The goddess he pursued had already thrown herself into the arms of someone else. Seeing that Li Wanjin was about to be taken to the car, he hurried forward and called out. Wanjin, huh? Hearing someone calling her, Li Wanjin turned around and saw that it was Mu Bai. She frowned. Please call me by my full name, thank you. The voice was cold and distant. Mu Bai resisted the pain in his heart and took out a bank card and handed it over. I heard that my aunt was sick and hospitalized. I have some money here. If it's not enough, tell me again. It's really infatuated. Shu Liang looked at the protagonist with interest, but when he saw his luck, he felt a little bored. His luck was too little, much lower than Lin Hao's. He was afraid that he would be forgotten after the end of the script. He also knew that this was at most an entrepreneurial protagonist, who might get a buff to inherit the family property, but it was still incomparable to Lin Hao. However, no matter how small a mosquito is, it is still meat, and it still needs to be harvested. Li Wanjin was stunned for a moment, then shook her head. No need, with the help of Mr. Shu, my mother's condition has improved. She looked at Shu Liang again, her eyes full of gratitude and admiration. If he hadn't appeared in front of her like a ray of light at that time, she would have collapsed. When the target saw Li Wanjin just now, he only had her in his eyes, and then he looked at Shu Liang next to him. A handsome face, perfect body proportions, much better looking than those stars on TV. He was full of hostility towards this guy who stole his goddess. Mu Bai was sure that this guy was deceiving Li Wanjin's feelings. Otherwise, how could he appear by coincidence when Li Wanjin's mother was sick? Turning his gaze back to Li Wanjin, he said, You don't have to wrong yourself. How much did he spend on treating your aunt? I'll help you pay him back. His tone was full of confidence. He also had the capital to be confident. Once his technology was successfully developed, becoming the world's richest man would not be a dream. Li Wanjin, go back. It's not about money. I like my current job, and there are people I like here. She shook her head and looked at Shu Liang with shyness in her eyes. She was making a firm statement. Shu Liang shouldn't punish her anymore, right? Swish. Mu Bai felt like his heart was stabbed. He took a deep breath and said with a deep look. When I was a kid, I didn't know what love at first sight was until I saw you for the first time 7 years ago. Do you know, every time I see you, my heart beats faster. At that time, I have already determined that you are the pursuit of my life. I have been chasing you for 7 years, from college to graduate school. I have never given up. I didn't give up before and I won't give up now. Wanjin, come back with me. I will take good care of you. Knowing that Shu Liang's taking advantage of the situation gave him a place in Li Wanjin's heart. If he wants to win back his beloved goddess, he can only play the emotional card. Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Li Wanjin looked confused. She wondered if Mu Bai had a problem with his brain. At a loss, she was also a little scared and almost cried. It's all this guy's fault. Why did he say so much? This is the end. Brother Liang won't be angry, right? But I really have nothing to do with him. Li Wanjin wanted to cry but had no tears. A punishment was inevitable, and he might keep calling, Dad. It's all Mu Bai's fault. Li Wanjin's face was full of resentment. Please be careful with your words. I am very satisfied with my current job, and Mr. Shu is also very good to me. If Shu Liang hadn't been beside her, she would have left to maintain her ladylike image. Cough. Shu Liang felt that it was time for him, the villain, to appear. He coughed and said, Brother, it's not good to poach someone in front of me. He confessed his love 2 days ago and suffered a major blow. At noon, he heard that there was another hidden story. After waiting for a long time, he finally saw the goddess, but found that the goddess had thrown herself into the arms of someone else. The continuous blows made Mu Bai lose his mind and yelled at Shu Liang. Shut up. Ding. Mu Bai is emotionally unstable. Villain value plus 333. Shu Liang's eyebrows jumped. This protagonist is a bit irritable. Who gave him the courage to act violently in front of him? But before he could make any move, Li Wanjin couldn't help it. Mu Bai, what are you yelling about? Did Mr. Shu provoke you? Apologize quickly. You actually asked me to apologize to him. Mu Bai looked at her in disbelief, as if he was looking at a stranger. I have been pursuing her for 7 years. Let's not talk about love, at least we have 7 years of friendship, right? She actually abused herself for someone who deceived her feelings, and she also apologized herself. Do you know that he is deceiving your feelings? Mu Bai completely exploded and turned to look at Shu Liang. Don't think I don't know. You helped Wanjin because you were attracted to her body, right? What I despise most is people like you, who play with other people's feelings and then dump them. Don't you just have some money at home? Can you do whatever you want with money? Ding. Mu Bai's mentality collapsed. Villain value plus 666. Tisk. This is all he has after his mentality exploded. Shu Liang was a little uninterested, and then he reached out and embraced Li Wanjin, who fell into his arms all of a sudden. Before she could react, a face was close to her. Well. Li Wanjin's eyes widened. She couldn't resist and didn't want to resist. The two kissed in front of Mu Bai. Mu Bai was stunned. Before, he had only guessed, but now he was really watching the two hugging each other, and he was dumbfounded. Then a surge of anger surged up, and he was about to rush forward. I'm going to kill you. However, before he could take action, several bodyguards blocked him, and he was greeted with a round of punches and kicks. In this battle, the villain won and left with the heroine. Mu Bai was knocked to the ground, looking at the car shadow in the distance, his eyes full of resentment and unwillingness. Sorry, you can do whatever you want with money. Shu Liang's arrogant words echoed in his mind. This blow to him is not small. He thought that money was not omnipotent, and he could live well without money, so when his father told him to get out of the house if he did not accept the marriage, he agreed without hesitation. This is indeed the case. He met the goddess he liked in college and had a best friend who worked together. However, now, his mentality has gradually changed. Money is not omnipotent, but without money, it is absolutely impossible, even the beloved goddess cannot be kept. Mu Bai slowly stood up, tremblingly put his hand into his pocket, and found a number that he had not dialed for a long time. Beep. The phone was dialed. There was no moment when he wanted to go back and inherit the family assets so much. Soon, the phone was connected. Dad, I was wrong. I want to go home and inherit the family business. Not long after, a gorgeous Mercedes drove over and stopped in front of him. A burly man got out of the car like a bodyguard and said respectfully, Master, please. The Mercedes took Mu Bai away, but a figure appeared at the original place and sent the message here. At this time, at Li Wanjin's home, Shu Liang was busy with all kinds of things. The mobile phone screen lit up, he glanced at the message on it, and a smile appeared on his face as expected. Li Wanjin was being punished, and she was very angry with Mu Bai in her heart. If he hadn't come to find her, she wouldn't have suffered so much. Later, Shu Liang played with a bunch of hair and asked casually, I heard that you have a graduation dinner tomorrow. Swish. Li Wanjin's face changed and she said quickly, There is a party, I won't go tomorrow. She thought Shu Liang was angry and was afraid that he would misunderstand. Shu Liang raised his eyebrows. It was no wonder that she would think too much when he asked at this critical moment. Go, why not? I'll accompany you tomorrow. Li Wanjin was a little confused. She didn't know what Shu Liang meant, but she nodded. The next evening, Shanshui International Hotel. At the door, a group of young men and women gathered together. Today, their entire class had a graduation dinner. They discussed in groups of 3 or 5. The topic was always inseparable from their plans after graduation, and there were 2 influential people, Mu Bai and Li Wanjin. Li Wanjin was their class monitor and the school beauty. Mu Bai was also a ruthless person. From 4 years of undergraduate to 3 years of graduate school, he pursued Li Wanjin for 7 years. Since the last Mu Bai confessed his love, it has been used as a topic of conversation. You didn't see it at the time. Mu Bai put out 999 roses to express his love, but the monitor rejected him without hesitation. Really? After all, we are classmates for several years. You can't be so heartless, right? Hee hee. If it weren't for the relationship of classmates, the monitor probably wouldn't even look at him. Alas, Mu Bai's love couldn't move the monitor. I don't know what kind of man the monitor would like. Quote. A group of people were chatting happily. Time passed by little by little. It was almost time for the party. Almost everyone has arrived, except for the monitor and Mu Bai. Will they not come? No, I asked the monitor. She said she would come, but Mu Bai didn't reply to the message I sent him. Ha ha ha, maybe he failed to express his love and didn't dare to come to see us. Wow, look, a limited edition Ferrari. A voice attracted everyone's attention. A fiery red supercar drove towards them and stopped in front of them. A group of people were surprised. At this time, a figure got off the car, and there were exclamations. Because this person was one of the people they were talking about, Mu Bai. He was wearing an Armani suit, his leather shoes were shiny, and his hair was combed in a very stylish way. He looked like a different person. Peng Ming in the crowd was also shocked. Is this really his best friend? Feeling the eyes of the crowd, Mu Bai was very happy. It turned out that the feeling of being the center of attention was so wonderful. Good evening, everyone, he smiled and greeted, scanning the crowd, trying to find the familiar figure. He wanted to prove it to Li Wanjin and take the goddess back. But he was disappointed. Li Wanjin seemed to have not come yet, and he came to his best friend Peng Ming. After some inquiries, these classmates realized that Mu Bai was actually from the Mu family. Doesn't that mean he is worth 10 billion? Poor students become rich second generation in seconds, and the top young master is right next to me. Then naturally a group of students fawned on him. Brother Bai is so handsome. Brother Bai is always a god. He is willing to give up his superior life and come to school to gain experience. I admire him. Brother Bai, do you still remember me? Your old deskmate, don't forget me. It's a pity that the class monitor rejected Brother Bai. If she knew Brother Bai's identity, she would regret it, right? Quote. Mu Bai enjoyed it. He used to be despised, but now he felt proud. At this time, another Rolls-Royce drove over. When they saw the figure coming down from the car, a group of people exclaimed again. It's the squad leader is here. They were shocked and puzzled. Li Wanjin actually came in a luxury car. Was she kept? Wait, this car seems to belong to that Mr. Shu. What, could it be that the person in the car is Mr. Shu? Shu Liang, the eldest son of the Shu family, is now in charge of the Shu group with hundreds of billions of dollars. I heard that the squad leader works in the Shu group, is deeply trusted by the president, and is also a manager. It's true. I want to see such a man of the hour today. Ah, I'm dead. For a moment, the whole audience was shocked. At this time, the figure they expected appeared as expected. Shu Liang appeared. Hello everyone, let me introduce you. This is Shu Liang, also my boyfriend. Coming in front of everyone, Li Wanjin introduced him, with a happy smile on her face. When Shu Liang said that he would appear as her boyfriend, she was also surprised, and then she was moved and ecstatic. No matter which woman, she wants to introduce her boyfriend in front of her loved ones and friends. What's more, this boyfriend is so outstanding. Swish, a stone stirs up 1,000 waves, and the crowd is stunned. They thought that the squad leader was kept by this young Master Shu, but they didn't expect that they were in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. The squad leader is going to marry into a wealthy family. Or a top wealthy family. I'm so envious. If I could also become Mr. Shu's woman, even if it's just a lover. No wonder she rejected the confession of Mu Bai, the young master of the Mu family, without hesitation. Quote. Some people were amazed, some were envious, and some people who were jealous of Mu Bai looked at him with ridicule. Some people thought that the monitor would definitely regret rejecting Mu Bai. Who would still have such an idea now? Compared to the Shu family, the Mu family, with assets of tens of billions, is not even qualified to be compared with it. Shu Liang also greeted them with a smile, and his eyes inadvertently swept across Mu Bai in the crowd. Seeing that he had changed a lot, the smile in his eyes became even stronger. Cherish every minute and every second now, because you may lose it at any time. He has mobilized the power of the family and secretly collected relevant information. It is only a matter of his mind to bring down the Mew family. He came here today just to strike a blow to this protagonist. I want to tell him one thing. Even if you are the young master of the Mew family, you are an ant in front of me. If you want to take the goddess back from him, then work hard. Try to develop the technology. Mew Bai's face was extremely ugly. Seeing his goddess introduce Shu Liang as her boyfriend in front of all the classmates, he felt heartbroken. He clenched his fists tightly, wishing he could beat up Shu Liang, who had snatched his goddess. But he didn't dare. He went back to check last night and found out what kind of giant the Shu family behind this young Master Shu was. I remember his father told him at that time. In the Magic City, you can provoke anyone, but never provoke Shu Liang. Because if you provoke other top young masters, you may still have a glimmer of hope, but if you offend Shu Liang, your family will be uprooted. Ding. Mew Bai has hatred towards you, villain value plus 555. Mew Bai was staring at Shu Liang angrily, not noticing the strange expression of his best friend Peng Ming next to him. The moment Shu Liang appeared, his face turned pale and his body was still shaking slightly. Only then did he realize that the young man who threatened him before was actually the young master of the Shu family, and he was desperate. Before, after learning that his best friend was the young master of the Mew family, he was still thinking about telling Mew Bai about this matter. Now he dared not even think about it. According to Shu Liang, when Mew Bai develops the battery technology, his only destination is to present it to him obediently. The whole class was present, and a group of people walked into the hotel and came to the reserved box. When the hotel manager learned of Shu Liang's arrival, he followed and waited on the side. This made a group of people sigh that this is the style of the eldest son of the Shu family. Mew Bai, he is not even worthy of carrying shoes in front of him. Li Wanjin also felt very proud. She is not the kind of woman who loves vanity. But it does not prevent her from being proud of finding such an excellent boyfriend. As the dishes were served, the dinner officially began. However, because of Shu Liang's presence, the meal was a bit depressing. The box was extremely quiet, for fear that any sound would disturb Shu Liang. After dinner, Shu Liang prepared to leave with Li Wanjin. He felt a little bored with these people. The two were not from the same world. But, before leaving, the personality still needs to be maintained. He stood up and smiled at everyone. Tonight, everyone should eat and drink. Everyone can have fun in the following activities. Mr. Shu will pay for all the consumption. Hearing such domineering and friendly words, a group of people cheered. Long live Mr. Shu. Mr. Shu is so generous. He has a strong background, but he treats people elegantly and easily. Pattern. What is pattern? This is pattern. Thank you, Mr. Shu, you are my god forever. Quote. Then, under the fanatical gaze of the crowd, Shu Liang left with Li Wanjin. Mew Bai came here because of Li Wanjin. Now that everyone has left, he has no intention of staying. He said something to his best friend and left. Just as he walked out of the door, he saw a scene that made him explode. Li Wanjin looked at Shu Liang affectionately and silently, and took the initiative to tiptoe and gave him a kiss. Ding. Mew Bai's mentality exploded, villain value plus 777. Hearing the system prompt sound in his mind, Shu Liang also quickly noticed Mew Bai at the door. The villain value delivered to the door, don't miss it. So, he took the initiative to meet the passionate heroine. This time coming to attend the party was very successful. Not only did he hit the protagonist, he also harvested a wave of villain value, and Li Wanjin's favorability rose again. I believe that if she is asked to have a baby for him, she will not only not refuse, but will be very happy. The system requires that you can get rewards by taking the heroine into the family, but letting them have children is the long-term solution. Because no matter how many heroines there are only a few hundred at most, and there will always be a time when they are all collected. Therefore, making the heroine pregnant is his next strategic policy. Hateful. Can I just watch Wanjin being deceived all the time? Mew Bai punched the wall hard, and blood flowed down, but he didn't care. Why did Li Wanjin take the initiative to kiss Shu Liang, and he still felt that the other party was deceived. The reason was just now, when he saw Shu Liang fell in love with him, he raised his eyebrows. There was pride, teasing and sarcasm in his eyes. How could he not understand? His previous thoughts were all right. Shu Liang was just playing around. When he got tired of playing, he would kick Li Wanjin away without hesitation. How can we stop all this? He felt powerless when he thought of the deep-rooted power of the Shu family. If only the Mu family had the power of the Shu family. Swish! A flash of inspiration came to him. Yes, I can make the Mu family like the Shu family. Even though the Mu family only has 10 billion assets now, when he develops that technology, he will definitely be able to compete with the Shu family. And now he has returned to the family. He can mobilize a large amount of funds to buy equipment, and then research and development and production will be much easier. Thinking of this, he breathed a little quickly and drove home in a hurry. At this time, Shu Liang returned to Li Wanjin's house again, enjoying the gratitude and enthusiasm of the heroine. He did not stay here, but went to Lu Ruolan's house. He hasn't received the reward from the heroine yet. For the mother of the first child, why wouldn't he do it if he could improve her favor by giving her a little favor? When Shu Liang arrived at Lu Ruolan's house, he knocked on the door. The nanny had gone home at night, and Lu Ruolan was alone at home. She looked through the peephole and saw Shu Liang, so she quickly opened the door. Her expression was surprised and happy, and a little nervous. You're here. Shu Liang hadn't come to see her for almost 2 days. She was afraid that Shu Liang's concern was just for her, and now he was back to threatening her. Did you miss me? Shu Liang smiled slightly, and a hand stretched out from behind, holding a bunch of violets. Lu Ruolan took the flowers, feeling relieved, but a little shy, and responded in a low voice. It seems that Shu Liang has really changed. This is all because of the baby in her belly. Have you eaten? I'll make it for you. Coming to the living room, Lu Ruolan put the flowers away and asked Shu Liang, who was sitting on the sofa. After eating, make me a cup of tea. She obediently took out the tea leaves and fiddled with a set of tea sets. Speaking of which, Shu Liang forced her to learn the skill of making tea. Shu Liang likes to drink tea, so he asked her to learn it so that she can enjoy it better when she comes. The man sat on the sofa and the woman made tea beside him. This warm picture looked like a couple. Ding-ling-a-ling, ding-ling-a-ling, ding-ling-a-ling. Shu Liang's cell phone rang. He picked it up and saw that it was Tang Xin calling. He glanced at Lu Ruolan, who was making tea seriously, and came to the balcony. Although he didn't care about answering another woman's call in front of one woman. But Lu Ruolan was in a state of rising favorability now, so he was more concerned. Brother Liang, someone wants to bail out that Lin Hao. The phone was connected. A crisp and pleasant female voice sounded. Oh, Shu Liang raised his eyebrows and asked, who is it? Chen Zhangjia. Then let him out. Shu Liang's expression was a little playful. It's always boring to take advantage of someone, and it's time to take Lin Hao out for a walk. Chen Zhangjia would rescue Lin Hao, which was actually within his expectations. Lin Hao has 3 masters, and 3 corresponding senior sisters. The senior sister is Chen Zhangjia. Chen Zhangjia, born in a family of traditional Chinese medicine, controls the century-old brand, Baikeotang. Nowadays, Western medicine is popular, and traditional Chinese medicine is gradually declining. In order to prevent the decline of traditional Chinese medicine, the head of the Chen family asked his daughter Chen Zhangjia to become a disciple of a medical master. After returning from her studies, Chen Zhangjia took charge of Baikeotang. Baikeotang has regained its vitality and gradually showed signs of rising. However, this situation is not what Western medicine wants to see. According to the following plot, they will continue to send people to Baikeotang to make trouble, and then be slapped in the face by the protagonist one by one. When Shu Liang was thinking about how to plan next, Tang Xin's voice sounded again. Brother Liang, have you found me a new sister? Hey. Shu Liang chuckled. Don't worry, you will have more and more sisters in the future. Tang Xin was the one who found out that Shu Liang had a group of beautiful women around him after she lost her virginity. At that time, she had a bad temper and even accused Shu Liang of cheating on her love and feelings, but she was completely subdued. Later, she never asked about how many women Shu Liang had. This time she asked because she was shocked by the news she got from Lin Hao. There was actually a woman who was pregnant with Xu Liang's child. That's right, under the cruel means of this violent woman, he finally told the reason. In the face of death, face is not that important. Brother Liang, when will you come to see me? I also want to give birth to a child for you. The violent policewoman is so direct. She called to report the information just by the way, and the last sentence was what she wanted to ask. She must not fall behind. After chatting for a few more words, she returned to the living room, and Lu Ruolin had already brewed tea. Xu Liang embraced her, feeling the warmth in his arms while sipping tea. How leisurely. On the other side, in the police station, Lin Hao was dragged out of the small dark room, and he was in a very miserable state. He looked like a beggar before, but now he is even worse than a beggar. It's miserable, too miserable. Chen Zhangjia frowned. Looking at the sloppy guy in front of her, she doubted whether this was really her junior brother. Sorry, because he wants to kill someone who is not an ordinary person, and he is too tight-lipped, we have to use some special means. Seeing her doubts, Tang Xin explained with a smile. Chen Zhangjia, special means. There are not many breaths left, right? When Lin Hao heard this, he trembled instinctively. There was a trace of fear in his eyes when he looked at her. He had never been so afraid of a person, really. This woman is really cruel. Not only were they whipped and illuminated, but they also almost never stopped the electrotherapy. They would stop when he was about to give up, and when he recovered a little, they would start a new round. If he wasn't in good shape, he would have been killed by this. After resting for a long time, he recovered some strength and followed Chen Zhangjia out of the police station. After leaving the police station, he looked back. The police station behind him was like a beast that would eat anyone it could. He never wanted to come here again. Seeing Chen Zhangjia in front of him, Lin Hao finally had the heart to look at her. He was shocked at a glance. This was a beautiful woman who was as beautiful as Lu Ruolin. Her facial features were clearly defined, as if they were carefully carved by the most perfect sculptor in the world. Her bright eyes shone like gems. She was slender and had beautiful curves, like a work of art that was ingeniously crafted. Her skin was white and delicate, as soft as silk, and there was a faint scent of herbs on her body. The most important thing was, she had a sense of righteousness, as if she was a living bodhisattva who saved the world, and people couldn't bear to blaspheme. With a thought in his mind, Lin Hao had already guessed who the other person was. When he was going down the mountain, several masters told him about several senior sisters. Senior sister Chen Zhangjia, the descendant of a traditional Chinese medicine family, now manages Baekotang and is a disciple of the master. Second senior sister Sha Qingqiu, the big sister of Xingyuman, the underworld world of Magic City, is a disciple of the second master. Third senior sister Dongfang Xuanyan, the only Xuanyan among all the beauties, is a popular queen and is a disciple of the third master. Third senior sister is now on an international tour. Second senior sister is in the underworld and must be stained with blood. Only the senior sister stays in the pharmacy every day, so she has a faint herbal fragrance on her body. Senior sister, the master asked me to go down the mountain to find you, and finally meet. Lin Hao smiled and stretched out his hand to shake hands. His current appearance, just grinning when he smiles, is even uglier than crying. Chen Zhangjia didn't even look at his hand, and said with disgust, "Let's go back first." After that, she went to drive. Lin Hao's face was stiff. Was he disdained? He looked at himself, looking worse than a beggar, and shook his head helplessly. He soon saw an Audi parked in front of him, and he got in the car quickly. Chen Zhangjia looked straight ahead, thinking to himself that he couldn't keep this car. The next day, Xu Liang got up in the morning and had breakfast with Lu Ruolin before going out. Before leaving, he took a look at the system, and Lu Ruolin's favorability improved again. Today is his scheduled checkup date. The woman around him had never been pregnant before. He wondered if there was something wrong with him, so he decided to check it out. It wasn't until he learned that Lu Ruolin was pregnant that he gave up his worries. After thinking about it, he decided to go for this checkup. There are so many women, and only one is pregnant in half a year. It is necessary to check. Also, he wanted to see how Chen Zhangjia arranged to bring Lin Hao out. That's right, The hospital where he made an appointment was Baekhyotang. Chen Zhangjia is one of the heroines he is targeting. I made an appointment at her hospital to get up close and personal with the guide. Baekhyotang is a traditional Chinese medicine clinic. With the changes of the times, it has to make some changes. Some physical examination equipment has been added to facilitate customers to understand their own conditions at any time. Shu Liang came to Baekhyotang at the agreed time. As soon as he walked into the door, he ran into Chen Zhangjia, who was about to go out. Lin Hao followed her silently. Master Shu. Chen Zhangjia was surprised to see Shu Liang. Of course the two knew each other and had a good relationship. Whether it is his behavior or conversation, Shu Liang has a big family style. The most important thing is, she didn't feel the dandy temperament of a rich man from Shu Liang. Knowing that Lin Hao had offended Shu Liang, she planned to bring him to apologize to Shu Liang when she went out today. Unexpectedly, before I even went out, people came to my door. She thought she was here to ask questions. When Shu Liang told the reason and came to check his body, Chen Zhangjia couldn't help but be surprised. Lin Hao felt much calmer when he saw Shu Liang again. But from the flash of hatred and anger in his eyes, it was clear that he still held a grudge. Shu Liang was brought to the VIP reception hall. Chen Zhangjia said apologetically. This is my junior brother. He just came down from the mountain. He doesn't understand the ways of the world. He got carried away and caused trouble for you before. I'm sorry. I just went out to bring him to apologize to you. I hope you can forgive me. She looked at Lin Hao again. What are you doing standing still? Why don't you quickly apologize to Mr. Shu? Want me to apologize to Shu Liang? Not only did you cheat on me and get Lu Ruolin pregnant, but now you want me to apologize. Lin Hao's hidden anger was almost ignited again. But thinking of what he had promised to this senior sister, he could only say it reluctantly. Sorry. Ding. Lin Hao is angry with you. Villain value plus 666. It has to be Lin Hao. Compared with the protagonist who has an explosive mentality and is only 777, he has to be found to win over the villain. Shu Liang looked at him jokingly. With Chen Zhangjia like this, Lin Hao obviously didn't tell her the real situation. This was also what he expected. As for the protagonists, they fall in love with each other when they meet each other. Of course, they will not say anything about fighting for another woman in front of a woman. This suited him quite well. If Chen Zhangjia knew that he had other women, it would be much more difficult to win. Of course it just adds a little more difficulty. No woman he likes can escape his grasp. Seeing that he didn't speak for a long time, Chen Zhangjia's heart kept sinking. Just when he thought Shu Liang would not forgive, he suddenly spoke. If it's anyone else who wants to kill me, you know the consequences. After a pause, Shu Liang cast his gaze on Chen Zhangjia, his tone somewhat ambiguous. But since he is your junior brother Zhangjia, I will let him go this time. Then thank you Mr. Shu. Chen Zhangjia blushed a little, and when she saw Lin Hao who was still standing aside, she immediately changed the subject. Master Shu has forgiven you, why don't you quickly say thank you? Anger appeared in Lin Hao's eyes. How could there be such a shameless person in the world? Just kidding. His fiancée, are you planning to kidnap his senior sister again? When Chen Zhangjia's scolding came, he vomited blood in his heart and said something perfunctory. Thanks. How did you say that? Is this your way of saying thank you? Chen Zhangjia became angry when she heard this. Whatever trouble this guy caused, I tried my best to help him solve the trouble. He's good, as if he owes him 250. Why did the master accept such a thing as his apprentice? If she hadn't written to ask her to take care of it, she wouldn't have bothered to take care of it. Okay Zhangjia, as a young man, it's normal to be a little angry. Please take me for a checkup. Seeing this, Shu Liang knew it was time to become a peacemaker. Chen Zhangjia looked back at Shu Liang with hatred. I'll take you there right now. No. I'll check you myself. Perhaps feeling indebted, she added. She is the shopkeeper of Baekhyotang, and she usually deals with patients with difficult or serious diseases. For something as trivial as checking, there was no need for her to come forward. Shu Liang smiled. This was exactly the result he wanted. Ding. Lin Hao has hatred towards you. Villain value plus 777. Lin Hao was trembling with anger. What do you mean by young and vigorous? You are about the same age as me, right? What does it mean to sound like you are teaching a younger generation a lesson? Seeing the two of them walk out of the VIP room, he hurriedly followed them. We must always be vigilant against Shu Liang and never let him take advantage of the senior sister. Before the physical examination, Chen Zhangjia took Shu Liang's pulse first. In fact, the diagnosis of the disease has always been done by several masters in the store. Even if she took action, it was to treat female patients. After all, men and women should not be allowed to give and take. This was her first time to touch a man's hand. The slight smell of hormones came to her face, making her blush and her heart beat. As soon as Lin Hao came in, he saw the beautiful senior sister, who was putting her delicate hand on the wrist of her enemy. And Shu Liang was enjoying it. He immediately got angry. Stop. The sudden voice startled Chen Zhangjia, who was already feeling guilty. She looked up and saw Lin Hao coming towards her aggressively. What's your name? She raised her eyebrows and said angrily. My medical skills are not worse than master's. I'll help him feel his pulse. Lin Hao was scared again when he came to her. There was no way, Shu Liang was too strong, he couldn't beat him. Chen Zhangjia hesitated after hearing this. The master not only asked her to take care of the junior brother in the letter, but also said that his medical skills were no less than his. If Shu Liang really felt unwell, it would be safer to let him diagnose. Seeing her intention, Shu Liang's expression instantly became affectionate, his eyes burning. I don't believe in his medical skills, I want you to feel my pulse. Well, Chen Zhangjia's heartbeat accelerated when she was looked at, and she continued to put her hand on him. She and Shu Liang have known each other for a long time. Chen Zhangjia certainly knew what he was thinking. But she had set the goal of revitalizing traditional Chinese medicine, so she had never agreed. Now, the resistance to him was getting lower and lower. Lin Hao was so angry. Still don't believe in his medical skills. Shu Liang clearly wanted to take advantage of the senior sister. After taking the pulse, the formal examination began. After entering the physical examination room, Lin Hao wanted to follow him in, but was hit in the face by the door that suddenly closed. Blood pressure, pulse, electrocardiogram, internal medicine and surgery, except for some special parts, Chen Zhangjia examined Shu Liang. Shu Liang didn't mind letting her have a full-body examination. I believe that in this kind of occasion, it will be a good experience. Wait a minute, it's almost time to win this heroine. At worst, I can check it again when the time comes. At that time, it will be a complete examination, and no part will be left out. During the filming, Shu Liang's upper body was displayed in front of Chen Zhangjia. 8 abdominal muscles, well-proportioned muscles on the body, like an ancient Greek sculpture, exquisitely crafted. It feels that the hormone smell emanating from him is even stronger. If Chen Zhangjia hadn't been determined in her heart, she would have fallen at this time. Not long after, the examination results came out. Chen Zhangjia looked at the report, and the data far exceeded that of ordinary people made her eyes widen. After a while, she came to Shu Liang with the report. According to the test results, there is nothing wrong with your body, on the contrary, it is very healthy. Just one thing, your cell activity is much higher than that of ordinary people, with strong stability and better quality. Oh, is there any problem? Shu Liang raised his eyebrows and asked. No problem, it's just. At this point, Chen Zhangjia blushed a little and took a deep breath. It's just that when you combine with others in the future, the possibility of conceiving life will be reduced. I heard that it is difficult to get pregnant if the cell activity is low, and the activity is too high. Is it because his cells are too domineering, and the garbage cells are not worthy of combination? Then how can he have many children? Shu Liang frowned and asked, is there a way to solve it? This is the first time I have encountered a situation like yours. Chen Zhangjia shook her head. Fearing that Shu Liang would worry, she hurriedly said. Don't worry, it's just to reduce the possibility. Once a life is conceived, the quality will be very high. Don't think too much. Others are not 100% pregnant, and many people use contraceptive methods to avoid pregnancy. What? There is such a saying. Once pregnant, the quality will be very high. Does it mean that a child with excellent genes will be born? Then will the child in Lu Ruolan's belly have an IQ of up to 200? Shu Liang suddenly looked forward to it. He tilted his head slightly and found that Chen Zhangjia was worried. From what she said just now, I knew that she had her own heart. With a move in his heart, Shu Liang sighed. Alas, I am afraid that no one will be willing to marry me in the future if I get this kind of disease. This is not a disease, and who said there is no such thing? Chen Zhangjia was immediately anxious and said directly without thinking too much. She soon reacted and found that Shu Liang was staring at her. What are you looking at me for? Zhangjia, are you willing to marry me? Don't worry about whether to marry her or not, just get her first, then he can do whatever he wants. Chen Zhangjia is a virgin, how can she bear such teasing? He quickly changed the subject and ran away. I have something to do, so I'll leave first. Shu Liang would never let her escape easily. He pulled her into his arms and lowered his head. Chen Zhangjia's pupils widened and her mind went blank. Outside the physical examination room, Lin Hao walked back and forth in the corridor, anxious. He was really worried that the senior sister was alone with Shu Liang. As time passed, he finally couldn't help knocking on the door. Bang bang bang. The knocking woke Chen Zhangjia up. When she saw her situation, she quickly broke free from Shu Liang's arms. If there hadn't been a knock on the door, who knows how far it would have gone. Shu Liang didn't force it. Now she was still resisting, but she wasn't ready yet. Just as he thought before, it wouldn't be long. Coming out of the physical examination room, Shu Liang was as elegant as ever, as if nothing had happened. Chen Zhangjia, however, was not as shameless as him. Her pretty face flushed slightly, and she avoided looking at Shu Liang. The sharp-eyed Lin Hao also found that the senior sister's shirt had some wrinkles in front. How could he not know that Shu Liang was bullying his senior sister in there? He was so angry in his heart. It was just like a surging river, endless and out of control. The only thing to be thankful for was that, judging from her appearance, she hadn't given it to Shu Liang yet. Lin Hao clenched his fists and had to stop Shu Liang. He had already cheated once, and he must not let him take the senior sister away again. Ding! Lin Hao was furious, villain value plus 999. In the evening, Lu Group, all employees discovered one thing. That is, their cold-hearted president has changed. In the past, she always looked cold. Now when she sees someone saying hello, she will nod in response and occasionally smile. Especially today, the smile on their president's face never stops. Did the president encounter something good? For Lu Ruolan, it was indeed a good thing. Because Shu Liang told her before leaving in the morning that he would come to find her to go to the opera house in the evening and go shopping with her. One sentence, one promise, made Lu Ruolan happy all day. Therefore, after finishing her work, she came downstairs and waited early. Before she waited long, a familiar Rolls-Royce arrived on time. Shu Liang waved to her. Lu Ruolan happily opened the car door and walked in. The two went to a private restaurant for dinner first. Although it is a private restaurant, the cuisine inside is not worse than those of top hotels, and even better. The top 10 famous dishes and 8 cuisines can all be found in it. These dishes are not affordable for ordinary people, because only one table is set up a day. Even rich people have to queue up for reservations. However, there are always a small number of people who can jump out of the 3 realms and are not in the 5 elements. These rules are meant to be broken in their eyes. Shu Liang is one of them. Seeing him coming, the boss came out to greet him personally. Seeing Shu Liang ordered many dishes, most of which are good for pregnant women. Lu Ruolan was even more moved, and his favorability towards Shu Liang was rapidly increasing. Not long after, a table of sumptuous dishes was placed in front of the two. While eating, Lu Ruolan picked up the dishes, hesitated for a moment, and put them in Shu Liang's bowl. This is what you like to eat. Putting aside the previous situation where Shu Liang forced her to pick up dishes and feed her, this was the first time she took the initiative to pick up dishes for Shu Liang. Shu Liang had a smile on his face. Take her out for a meal, order some dishes that are good for the child, and she fell like this. It's really effortless to collect this favorability. It seems that the gold coins are not far away. Then he became thoughtful. With the successful case of Lu Ruolin, you can win her over by training her first and then giving her some small favors. I wonder if it will work for other female protagonists. After enjoying dinner together, Xu Liang and Lu Ruolin came to the largest opera house in Shanghai. It was already 8 o'clock in the evening after watching Farewell My Concubine. It was the peak time for night shopping. Wow, look at the handsome big brother, the big sister is so happy. A talented man and a beautiful woman, a perfect match. I am a fan of this CP. Appearance is secondary, look at their temperament, they are not ordinary people at a glance. Quote. Quote. The two walked on the street, attracting the attention of the crowd wherever they passed, and the rate of turning back was 100%. Hearing the voice that she and Xu Liang were a good match, Lu Ruolin was happy. After Xu Liang's company and care for the past 2 days, the previous fear disappeared. Instead, it was replaced by happiness and a strong sense of security. The movement here soon attracted the attention of a figure not far away. Lin Hao changed his clothes today, and compared with the previous beggar's clothes, he looked decent. He came out to find a bar, intending to get drunk to relieve his sorrow. His mentality was about to explode. It had only been a few days since he came down the mountain, and his experience was almost as rich as the 6 years he had spent on the mountain. He was rejected when he went to his fiancée's house, and was asked to cancel the engagement when he went to find his fiancée, and he even found out that she was pregnant. He wanted to seek revenge on Xu Liang, but was slapped away, and found out that the other party was stronger than his second master. He thought Xu Liang would not kill him, but after he was arrested and taken to the police station, he knew what it meant to live a life worse than death. Now when he thought of that small dark room, he still felt a chill. After being rescued by the eldest sister, he apologized to his enemy, which made him almost vomit blood. He also found that the eldest sister had signs of being conquered by Xu Liang. He wanted to stop it, but found that he had no way. Whether it was power or strength, he was no match for Xu Liang. There was a cry from the front. He looked in the direction of the sound. When he saw the two figures in the center of the crowd, Lin Hao was stunned. It was Xu Liang and Lu Ruolin. The two walked on the street like a loving couple. He was going to turn around and leave. He couldn't beat him, so he could only watch Xu Liang bully his fiancée, which was more painful than killing him. He swore that when he had the strength, he would kill Xu Liang and rescue Lu Ruolin as soon as possible. However, when he saw Lu Ruolin's expression, he stopped. Lin Hao found that she no longer had the fear and anger towards Xu Liang. A smile from the heart appeared on her face, with a hint of happiness. Doesn't that mean Xu Liang not only got her body, but also her heart? Nima, what happened? He was locked up for 1 day, what happened? That was his fiancée, and the pregnancy before could be said to be forced. If she fell in love with someone else, what would he be? Absolutely not. Lu Ruolin, have you forgotten how Xu Liang treated you before? No, she must have been deceived by Xu Liang's sweet words. He couldn't have seen the anger in Lu Ruolin's eyes wrong before. That fear from the heart could not change in a short time. The only explanation was what Xu Liang said, promising to marry her in the future and give her a name. Women are always emotional creatures. Especially after having children, they are easily deceived by some sweet words. But Lin Hao knew that Xu Liang was a playboy, and there were so many women around him. He also secretly went to Xu Group in the afternoon. He saw Xu Liang and 2 women whose temperament and appearance were not inferior to Lu Ruolin and senior sister Chen Zhangjia, and they were very close. He was envious and jealous. He was not satisfied with so many women, and he also went to seduce senior sister. How could such a playboy give women a future? He must let Lu Ruolin see Xu Liang's character thoroughly. Noticing the sneaky Lin Hao, Xu Liang's eyes flashed with a strange color. He and these protagonists are really natural enemies, and they will meet wherever they go. If you want to follow, then follow. Xu Liang had a faint smile on his face. Just passing by a women's clothing store, he pulled Lu Ruolin in. Since you're here, how can you not buy a few pieces? Lu Ruolin was so touched. I thought Xu Liang would accompany her shopping, but he even accompanied her to buy clothes. My impression of him increased instantly. To express her gratitude, she asked Xu Liang to help her choose clothes. Even if it was the super short and thin ones that he had asked her to wear before, she would buy them back and wear them for him to see. Seeing her shy face, Shu Liang randomly pointed out a few sets that looked good. Unexpectedly for Lu Ruolin, he chose all the formal clothes. Long evening dresses, knee-length pleated skirts, and professional suits that looked like CEOs. She was going to have someone wrap her up. Her figure was a natural hanger, and as long as it wasn't too exaggerated, she would fit her body. And she had a mental cleanliness disorder, and she would not allow others to wear clothes that she had worn. Usually, she would buy clothes back directly after buying them, and she didn't care about this little money at all. At this time, Shu Liang smiled and stopped her. Put it on and see how it goes. Lu Ruolin certainly would not refuse his request and immediately walked into the fitting room. Next, she put on one piece of clothing after another. Shu Liang was very interested and turned into a judge to score her clothes. These are all brand name clothes. With Lu Ruolin's beautiful face, aren't they better looking than those models? He had a more interesting idea in mind. That is to gather those female protagonists together and change their clothes for him one by one. They can even open a model exhibition. An exhibition that only he can see. Even the clothes can be more innovative and bold, and hold a Victoria's Secret show of his own. After trying on a few clothes, Shu Liang had seen enough. Lu Ruolin asked the waitress to pack up all the clothes. Then she went to the other side of the booth and took out a few very interesting clothes. After having them packed up, she secretly glanced at Shu Liang. Seeing the playful expression on his face, she quickly lowered her head with a blush on her face. Ding! Lin Hao's mentality exploded, villain value plus 1,000. Outside the store, through the glass, Lin Hao, who saw all this from afar, was stunned. What did he see? Lu Ruolin was actually trying on clothes for Shu Liang to see. Every time he saw her put on clothes and show her beauty in front of Shu Liang, Lin Hao felt extremely heartbroken. That was his fiancée. Shu Liang could sleep with her and have negative distance contact with her. But he could only watch from afar. His mentality collapsed. And at the end, he saw Lu Ruolin go to another special area. Those interesting clothes she picked: one-piece black stockings, miniskirts comparable to bikinis, ultra-thin lace. It goes without saying who he would wear these to, and Lin Hao was in a bad mood. At the counter, Lu Ruolin planned to swipe the card. She was already very touched that Shu Liang could accompany her to buy clothes. If she asked him to pay again, she would be embarrassed. Before she could take it out of her bag, a hand had already reached out to her. In his hand was an exquisite purple gold black card. Swipe mine. Shu Liang had a gentle smile on his face. Is this a purple gold black card? Since Shu Liang entered the store, the beautiful cashier has been paying attention to him. He is so handsome and has such a good temperament. Unconsciously, she was stunned. And when she saw the black card in his hand, the cashier was so shocked that she couldn't speak. She had never seen this kind of black card, but she had heard of the legend about this black card. Purple gold black card, issued by the Swiss head office, limited to 20 cards worldwide, unlimited credit limit. Unexpectedly, the handsome guy in front of him is not only handsome, but also has a good temperament and is rich. Fortunately, she reacted in time and took the card with trembling hands, excited and thrilled. After swiping the card, the cashier handed it to him respectfully. Shu Liang put it away. Glancing at the system, Lu Ruolin's favorability rose again. These clothes are only tens of millions. In his eyes, they are not even money. In his eyes, money is really just a string of numbers. He would like to use some money to improve Lu Ruolin's favorability and get gold coins as soon as possible. Why not? Indeed, Lu Ruolin is indeed a little touched now. After growing up, this is the first person to buy clothes for her and spend money on her. It made her feel the warmth she had not seen for a long time. Watching the two people leave the store, the cashier was still staring at the door infatuatedly, and she didn't come back to her senses for a long time. For a man like Shu Liang, she could only think about it in her heart, and she didn't even have the qualifications for a one-night stand. Some of them were just envious of the woman next to him, who could always be with him. The two walked on the street for a while again. When she was about to go back, a men's flagship store caught Lu Ruolin's attention. She looked at Shu Liang beside her and said with some expectation. You just bought me clothes, I'll buy you one too. These days, Shu Liang has been very considerate to her. She felt that she had to show some appreciation. Although he had everything, she couldn't let him think that she was a woman who only knew how to accept. And she thought to herself, a woman buys clothes for her man, and that's how a family looks like. Shu Liang raised his eyebrows. He seemed to see what she was thinking, and a smile appeared on his face. Okay, but I don't know how to choose clothes, you can help me choose. Lu Ruolin naturally agreed and smiled happily. Then the two walked into the men's clothing store. When they walked in, Lu Ruolin really started to choose clothes for Shu Liang, looking very serious. 10 minutes later, Lu Ruolin came to Shu Liang with a few sets of clothes and asked for his opinion. Since you chose them, I want them all. Lu Ruolin smiled and asked someone to pack them. The saleslady took the clothes from her with a look of surprise. Although there were only a few pieces of clothes, the total price was over $1 million. She got a lot of commission. Wait, Shu Liang stopped her. He took out a suit from the clothes. Pack the others, I'll try this one. Before, he got the buff of the suit thug after pulling a female protagonist into the family, but he hadn't tried the effect yet. Suit thug buff. Requires wearing a suit, the host's temperament is improved by 1 level, the strength is improved by 50%, and the mixed martial arts is improved to the god level. This buff is dispensable for him, because his strength is already invincible. The skills he got, such as Bajikwan and Junshishu, are also god level. Usually he prefers to dress casually and has never tried a suit, but today he can try it. This made Lin Hao, who was hiding in the dark and peeping, bite his teeth. What does it feel like to see his fiancée, the woman he likes, seriously buying clothes for another man? Only he knew it in his heart, and he felt like another knife was stabbing into his heart. At this time, he saw Shu Liang holding a piece of clothing and entering the fitting room, and Lu Ruolin was waiting outside. His eyes lit up, good opportunity. He had long wanted to tell Lu Ruolin about Shu Liang's hypocrisy. But she had been with Shu Liang all the time, and there was no possibility of getting close to him. Now, the opportunity was right in front of him. He had to be quick, and tell Lu Ruolin the truth before Shu Liang came out after changing his clothes. Lin Hao didn't dare to delay, and ran over quickly. The scene changed. Seeing Lin Hao suddenly appear, Lu Ruolin frowned. Didn't they agree to cancel the engagement? What did this guy come to her for again? She didn't want Shu Liang to misunderstand. Ruolin, I'm here to tell you something. Before he finished speaking, Lu Ruolin interrupted. Please call me Lu Ruolin, we are not familiar with each other. Quote. Lin Hao was stabbed in the heart again, and he didn't dare to delay and continued. Listen to me. Don't believe Shu Liang's sweet words, he actually has many women outside. I saw him with 2 women in his company with my own eyes, and I also saw him hooking up with other women outside, you must not be fooled by him. After saying that, he looked at Lu Ruolin, expecting her reaction. However, I didn't see the scene that Lu Ruolin was furious and left as imagined. On the contrary, her expression was very calm. Are you done? Lin Hao. Question mark. Who am I? Where am I? What am I going to do? Lin Hao was confused. It was completely different from what he thought. After Shu Liang had you, he had other women outside. Aren't you angry at all? Get out of here when you're done. His voice was cold, mixed with anger. Lin Hao doubted his life even more. He told Shu Liang about his character, but Lu Ruolin not only didn't thank him, but was also very angry with him. What the hell is going on? How could he know? Lu Ruolin actually knew all he said. Is it her business to control what Shu Liang does? She doesn't ask for too much. In her heart, she is satisfied as long as Shu Liang treats her like this. Why is she angry with Lin Hao? Lin Hao said this, obviously to destroy the relationship between her and Shu Liang. It would be strange if she is not angry. In order to prevent him from succeeding, Lu Ruolin said, I know everything you said, no matter how many women Shu Liang has outside, as long as I have a place in his heart. Her words are half true and half false. As a woman, and a proud woman, how can she be willing to share her man with other women? But she has no choice. Who makes Shu Liang stronger than her? She thinks it's good now. Shu Liang is no longer so fierce to her, and he will come to see her when he is free. What the hell? Lin Hao was stunned. What Lu Ruolin meant by this was obvious. This TM is that no matter how many women Shu Liang has, they are willing to follow him. Even willing to be a mistress, a lover. Is this the cold and arrogant female CEO he knows? At this time, his heart was not just stabbed 2 or 3 times, but was stabbed with thousands of holes. Ding. Lin Hao's emotions are out of control, villain value plus 888. Ding. Lin Hao's mentality collapsed, villain value plus 999. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.